Agreed?
Again, that wasn't my thought process.
Okay. You just used the word gang up even though it wasn't your thought process.
Yes.
Okay. And then,
I thought he would continue to provoke them until they did something.
okay. And this is, again, your observations from 100 feet away?
Sure.
Did you hear any words?
Speculation.
Overruled. You'd agree with that?
No.
So the word pedophile to you didn't have any particular concern for you?
No.
It was the same type of word as jerk or some other pejorative term?
I believe the kids were just throwing it out there, yes.
Okay. And you didn't believe the kids were speaking the truth?
I had no, again, I wasn't worried about what they were speaking or what they were saying. I just saw a situation and didn't want it to escalate.
And as a result of that, you sent your two boys over there, correct?
Correct.
And and Dante and Anthony, they're not teenagers, right?
No.
They're adults, correct?
Correct.
And you thought your two sons would be able to de-escalate the situation, correct?
I did.
Did you observe Dante go over there?
I did.
Did you observe Madison go over there?
I did.
And when you saw Madison go over there, did you see Nicolae Miu walk towards Madison?
No, what I saw was Madison walk between the tubes and Nicolae and tell him to move on down the river.
Okay. Can I? Yes.
You're welcome to use the fresh markers in the package.
How do you have a preference where to do this?
Somewhere I can see it. Sure.
Okay. So I'm gonna make some drawings up on here. You can't see it. Judge would be okay to him stand there to observe if he needs to.
If you need, can you see there?
I think I can see it all.
Okay.
Can the jury see? Everyone on the jury see the? There is a sweet spot in this courtroom where everyone will be able to see.
I'm happy for you to tell me that, Judge.
I'm wondering where it is.
Oh, okay.
I think you'll have to push it all the way up against the wall.
Okay. All right. See where I wrote downstream on the top and upstream down here?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And if I use that,
It's backwards from where I'm sitting now versus what I was then.
at that time you were over in this position where I had.
Are
seen
you?
Before, is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Are you guys watching this case? I'm sorry, this is so interesting. I had to put it on. Hi, Rocky. Hi, Lori. Hi, Mommy.
6 tubes were over in this direction, is that fair?
Correct.
You want me to put it on
Randomly, but does
pause?
that look about right?
Yep.
And then Mr. Miu, would he be in this position?
No, he was directly in front of the.
Okay. Oh gosh, I have no makeup on. I'm scary. I'm so scary. Okay. This case is about a group of teenagers. They decided to go on a rafting on this river. And oh gosh, the river escapes my brain. Apple River? Yes, in Wisconsin. So they were harassing this guy because he was looking for his. This is just really a weird story. So anyway, just bear with me. Sometimes I'm not good at explaining stories. And and then the teenagers were harassing him, and it's just a real, a real complex story. Here, I'm going to read the description. Nicholas, 54, is accused. Oh, excuse me, Nicolae. He's 54 years old. He is accused of stabbing a teenager to death and injuring 4 others while tubing on the Apple River in Wisconsin back in July of 2022. Isaac Schuman, which is 17, was killed, and Rhyley Mattison, 24, suffered severe stab wounds. And his last name is Miu, which I have not learned how to pronounce his last word yet. He is facing multiple charges, including first-degree intentional homicide, attempted first-degree homicide, and then battery with a dangerous weapon. And he claims he acted out in self-defense. Now, the reason why I was not on yesterday because I had a severe case of the hiccups. I am not kidding. All right, so any questions? Because we'll go forward. All right. Okay, Madison Cohen was the one that was severely injured. Oh, gosh, it would help if I put this up.
Would that be correct?
Yeah.
All right.
She
There
can't
it is.
move it out.
Yep.
That's what you saw.
Correct.
Okay. What did you see her do then?
She was pointing downriver and telling him to go, get the fuck out of here, go.
Oh.
Okay. Did you hear her use the F word?
I did.
Okay. She was that loud.
Yeah, because he wasn't. I mean, he was just staring at her blankly at that point.
Okay. And you could see that from over here.
Yes.
And did then Dante come over there too?
Little water.
I don't remember the order that everyone went over there after
Did
that.
eventually Dante get over there?
Yes.
Did Rhyley Mattison get over there?
Yes.
Did Anthony Carlson get over there?
Yes.
Did AJ Carlson get over there?
AJ is not a Carlson.
I apologize. AJ Martin.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I'd love to call him my own, but
Appreciate that. And then Janelle, what's Janelle's last name? It's with a D, right?
yeah.
Call her Janelle D.
Fair enough.
Okay. And then there's a Gabby K as well.
Yeah.
All right. So
And I believe there was another. There was some really kids' friends I didn't know. So.
okay.
All
And
right,
we're
just
all
Madison.
in the same area around Madison?
I don't know where they were standing. I mean, they were behind and to the right of Madison.
I think some people have said they told the police that they created a wall between Nicolae Miu and the tubers. Is that what?
That's possible.
Is that what you remember?
I
No,
I
it's a
don't
witness
remember.
that was
Okay. Well, we know we have at
that was
least.
involved in the raft.
Rhyley Mattison is
In the group, I don't know.
somewhere in this direction.
But the
Riley
teenagers.
actually walked up and stood next
Sorry,
to her.
he's talking.
Okay.
Let me just write it
So
down.
Rhyley could be here,
Yeah.
and then Dante's over in this area.
Again, I don't remember.
Okay, can I just, I mean, I know, I'm just trying to make sure we have enough bodies over here, right? So can I put a big D here for Dante?
Sure.
And then we have Tony's there someplace,
Yep.
AJ's there someplace.
Yeah. Yep. And I think Scotty stayed back and held the tubes with me
Scott's over here.
Yeah,
Gabby K's over here somewhere.
I don't remember where Gabby was.
Okay, well, maybe just put her in the middle for now with a question mark.
Yep.
Janelle D is somewhere over there.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay, so somewhere here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people from your group walked over there. That's how you remember it.
Correct.
Okay. And then there was the 16.
Okay, just one moment. I had to type in.
So at least as we have it drawn here, at some point.
I'll
it
tell you who
looks
he
like
is in
there's
just a second.
6 of them, 5 of them, maybe 2 more that are standing there in Mr. Miu's space, right? Or in front of him, I should say.
I wouldn't say they were in his space, but
In front of him.
Okay, this is Quentin, whatever his name is,
Witnesses have described Madison
Carlson,
Cohn as being in
and
Nicolae
he
Miu's
stopped to
space.
help the victim's
Do you
group.
agree with that?
Judge, I don't object to the line. I think they can just ask.
I hope that makes
the
sense.
witness
So
if
here,
they agree with previous
let me
testimony.
see if I can copy and paste.
Do you agree, do you agree that Madison Cohn was up in Nick Miu's face?
I guess I wouldn't describe it like that.
If somebody else described it that way, would they be lying?
Objection, Judge.
Sustained.
During this time when you're making these observations, you're still sitting in your tube over there at G2, is that right?
I think I might have stood up out of my tube by that point, but yes, I was still with the tubes.
Okay. Fair to say you did not see Mr. Miu touch Madison Cohn?
Miu,
Agreed?
okay, that's his last
That
name.
is correct.
This is not
It
the
was
guy who
reported
did
to
the
you later by
crime.
others, correct?
It was
Yeah,
reported to me
thank
by
you,
Maddie.
Mommy.
Sure. And also by others,
I
correct?
had to learn how to.
I don't think anybody else told me.
Well, didn't you originally tell the police? Did you originally tell the police, in fact, do you remember speaking with investigator John Schultz? Do you remember speaking with him?
I remember speaking to an investigator at the hospital, yeah.
I told you this man over here with the badge on and the tie and the gray shirt with the folder in front of him is investigator John Schultz. Does that refresh your memory as the person you may have spoke with?
No, but I'll take your word for it. I mean,
You spoke with a police officer at the hospital, correct?
correct.
And you told the police officer she came, and I think you're referring to Maddie.
Mhm.
I'll give you, she came. The next thing I know, she's like, he punched me, Quentin. He punched me. They said he slapped her, but whatever. Do you remember saying that to Mr.
I don't
Schultz?
remember saying that, but I may have. I won't argue that I didn't.
And if you did say that, it was because that was the truth. Agreed?
Agreed.
And the truth on that day was that Maddie told you he punched her, but others said they saw a slap, correct?
Correct.
You didn't see anything, correct?
I did not.
And as you sit here today, you don't know who said slap, you just know some people said slap, correct?
Correct.
And the only person that told you, excuse me, let me say that, when you spoke with the police, when you told the police that Maddie was punched, you told her that's the only person that said that was Maddie, correct?
Correct.
And then you used they as a plural to say what the other people said, correct?
Correct.
Has anyone since then told you that they observed any of that group, Rhyley Mattison, Dante Carlson, Tony Carlson, AJ Martin, Gabby K, or Janelle D, told you that they saw a slap and not a punch?
I don't recall that anyone has. I don't recall having a conversation. It wasn't, obviously there was more severe injuries and those were the concern. Sure. And it was clear that she had been struck. You could see the mark on her face.
You said that before. Let me ask you some questions about that.
Sure.
Where did you see that mark on her face?
It was that her cheek was visibly swollen. There was pictures taken and and they were offered, but I don't know whatever happened to them.
Okay, we'll get to the pictures. Let me just put that aside here for a second. Can you point on your face where it is you saw the mark on her face?
No.
Okay. You don't have a memory of that?
I remember her cheek and around her eye being swollen.
When you say you have a memory, I mean,
I don't know if it was her left or right cheek. I don't.
so
No.
do you have a memory of actually seeing it? Because when I have a memory, I see a picture there, and then I could see her face, and I could see the mark on one side or the other. You don't have that in your head right now?
She was coming at me, so I would say it would have been the left side of her face.
Okay, so, and again, it's not a quiz, so I just want to make sure that we're the same, because somebody else said they didn't get left and right correctly. And so can you just reach your hand up and touch the left side of your face where you think you saw it? Okay, and again, for the record, you used your left hand to reach up and touch underneath your left eye on your face, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, I apologize, but I couldn't tell I have a little scar under my left eye. I couldn't tell from back there if you did. It doesn't
No,
look like you
there's
did.
bags under my eyes. I work nights.
Nope. Sometimes we project on our own onto others, and I apologize for doing that. So what you recall is, did she point up to her left side of her face?
She came over holding it.
Okay, she came over holding the left side of her face, right?
Yeah.
And when she's holding the left side of her face, I imagine she's holding the left side of her face like you did with her left hand, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. When she walked over to that group, she had things in her hands, correct?
I guess. I suppose she probably did.
Yeah. I mean, she had a phone, right?
I don't know.
She had a vape,
Again, I don't know.
and she had a white
Got
claw,
her hand or
right? If I showed you photos that said that
I
she had
am
those
under
things in
the
her hand, would that
impression he
surprise
just
you?
saw what was happening
no, it
was
wouldn't.
open
But
them out.
I can't say that I know what she had in her hand because I don't.
When
I
she
have to
came
listen
back to
carefully
you,
to
she
this
still
witness
had
here.
the phone, correct?
Objection, Judge, I think it's the second.
What?
Doesn't remember.
Oh, he's
I'm asking now when she
frustrated.
came back. I'm asking a different time frame.
Fair enough. You can answer the question.
I still don't remember.
Okay. When she came back, did she have the can in her left hand?
Again, I
Oh,
don't
he's
remember
useless.
what
Okay.
she had in her.
Would it refresh your memory to see a still frame of her standing by the tubes afterwards speaking? Can I show that to you?
Sure.
I'm just gonna object that wrong. We know what's in the video. He doesn't remember it.
Sustained. I don't think this is a good use of our time. He doesn't remember. The photos may or may not show something different.
Would you agree if she's seen after she says that she got punched in the face on the left side of her hand and she walks over to you at G2?
Yeah.
And if she's seen in the video over there holding a can in her hand
Mhm.
with the phone in her right hand, right?
Yeah.
She's got her hands full, correct?
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
I mean, if her hands are full, yes, I would agree that her hands are full.
And if her hands are,
Speculation on what might be.
Who's her?
It's a
I'm trying to get this
hypothetical.
out. I'm gonna-
Well, come on up, please.
Okay. I think we're going to show the video. On a break, I'm going to show you the video. I think it was the girl who was attacked, was hit in the head and the face. I believe Nicolae, he is the one who actually hit her, allegedly hit her, I should say. They haven't said her name. I think, yeah, they haven't. No, they haven't said her name. In my opinion, I think both sides are to be blamed. I don't think there's any winners in this case. It's a tragedy. It's such a bad tragedy. I just can't imagine how the mother is dealing with it. And they did have her on the stand this morning, and it was really painful to watch. Her son was the one who was stabbed, and It was just horrible. So right now, I really don't know what they're doing now.
We're gonna start over.
Okay.
So yes, sustained.
But you want to use two different photos. I'm going to ask the first photo. I want to show 2657.
Tell us when you're ready.
I'm ready, Judge.
Okay, I think this is the girl. Okay, everybody pay attention.
57, and I believe the evidence is that this is at approximately 1 minute and 50 seconds into the video. Is that Madison Cohen that you see in front of you with the blonde hair?
Okay, Madison Cohen's
And
with
she has
Avenue.
a drink in her left hand.
Yep.
I apologize, Judge. I'm going as fast as I can.
I have no idea what they're doing. So as I understand it with this whole case, is that initially he was, the kids thought he looked suspicious because he was looking,
I want to show you slide 42.
he was looking in the river for his phone. He had dropped, was looking for a needle in the haystack, my opinion. But that's what, and then the kids started
Is that you in the yellow shirt?
honing in
sir?
on him.
Yep.
And then over here, does that appear to be Madison Cohen with the blonde hair and the one-piece suit?
It's really not clear enough to say for sure, but
The person who's got the blonde hair in the upper corner there with the one-piece suit, does it appear as if that person has something in their left hand and something in their right hand?
I couldn't say from that picture. I'm not sure that matters. She came over clutching her eye, whether it was with the back of her hand, her forearm, or the front of her hand. She came over holding her eye.
So your previous testimony, when you said she had her flats of her fingers up against her eye, you're
I
saying
didn't say that.
that's what you showed. So
You asked me where on the face, and I used my hand to show where on the face. I didn't say that's how she was holding her hand.
You did. I thought I did both. And if I was wrong, that's fair. So tell me now, tell the jury now, what did you see her do in relation to the place on her face where she said she was punched? What did she do?
Again, I don't remember. I just remember she was clutching her eye.
Okay.
Whether it was the front of her hand, the back of her hand, or her forearm, I couldn't say. Again, this all happened very quickly, and I was able to see that she was okay. There was people stabbed, and that was my concern.
And I appreciate that. If it seems like I'm judging you,
No,
I'm
I
not
just
trying to
want to
give
be
that
clear.
impression. I'm just trying to gather the facts so that the jury can make their decisions. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. You said that there was a photo taken of this mark on her face.
Correct.
Did you take this photo?
I did not. Her mother did.
Okay. And this is something that was told to you?
Yes.
You didn't see the photo, did you?
I think I did.
Okay. Who showed you the photo?
I believe her mother showed it to me.
Okay. And when did her mother show you this photo?
We all went and had lunch after the bail hearing,
Okay.
and I believe it was that time at lunch that she showed it to me. It may have been here at the courthouse, but it was that time frame.
Okay. And do you, are you aware that Madison Cohn gave her phone to the police?
She very well may have. I mean, I'm not aware of that, but
Is it your were you told by somebody that the police just didn't want it? Is that what you were told?
well, it wasn't her phone. It was her mom's phone.
Okay.
So
That was what
and yes, I was told that the photo was offered up, and they said they didn't need it.
the police just said, we don't need that photo in a homicide case.
I don't know how they said it.
Okay, that's fine. But that's what your testimony is.
That is my testimony.
That's what you were told by the Cohen family.
That is what I was told by her mother. Yes.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Carlson, do you
Bill,
have-
I agree with that.
Absolutely not.
Remember some details of events without remembering everything.
Gotta remember, Mommy, they were drinking, smoke and dope.
Here today.
Nothing good happens when you do the combination of
Which
it.
right turns you took.
No.
Do you remember some things from this incident, but not every single incident detail?
I would say that's fair to say. Some things were burned into my brain that day.
Yeah, drugs? No, I know what you mean. Mommy, I'm not-
You said on cross that you thought Nicolae was just a drunk idiot. Remember that?
I don't believe I used the term idiot, but I think that's fair.
I might be misremembering too, so I don't mean to put words in your mouth. If you think I'm wrong, yeah, feel free to correct me. And I think you said that your fear was he was going to keep antagonizing the boys until they did something.
From what I witnessed, yeah. I'd watched them walk away from their tubes 2 or 3 times and then reapproach them.
And your memory from your vantage point was that you could see Nicolae, Maddie, and then the tubes. So like,
I mean, I could see everything from my vantage point, but what I was focused on and paying attention to at different times
Probably.
varies.
Yes.
I think I was mainly focused on Mr. Miu and watching what he was doing. Versus, and obviously I could see Maddie interacting with him because I was watching him. But if you asked me what the other kids were doing at that point, I couldn't tell you.
and your view is not a bird's eye view like that drawing.
Absolutely not.
So if there's parts you're walking over or standing in between parts your view is obstructed.
Yep.
And so Attorney Nelson drew some locations of people up there. Do you actually remember that that's where those people were?
No, I mean, I remember where we were in relation to their group. We were almost in front of them when I got the boys to stop our tubes. We were on the opposite side of the river,
And I want to. So Attorney Nelson asked you, which cheek was it on Maddie? You remember that line of questioning?
yep,
I think you said a couple times you didn't remember. Then he told you about how his memory works, and then you said left.
well, again, I didn't want to say anything that I wasn't absolutely certain about. I remember it being the left-hand side, but I didn't want to state that without being absolutely certain, and I wasn't absolutely certain that it was the left-hand side.
He asked you to pick a side, and you picked.
Correct.
I don't have anything else.
Mr. Nelson?
So just again, when you say you remember it being on the left-hand side, do you have an image in your mind of Madison Cohen's face on the left-hand side having a mark? Is that what you see when you say, I remember it being on the left-hand side?
Correct.
Okay. You don't see anything else in your head other than that, right? You don't have any other memory, correct?
I give you a person who was drunk.
Well, I'm not sure what you're asking me.
Poor question. Fair enough. I'm asking in particular about your memory regarding Madison Cohen's mark. And the
Okay.
only memory that you have about Madison Cohen having a mark is the memory that you've told us about it being on her left side. That's the only memory you have, correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. You'd said you watched Nicolae Miu walk away 2 or 3 times, correct?
Correct.
And was that before, during, or after Madison Cohen had walked over there?
Before.
Okay. And when Nicolae Miu walked away from that group of teenagers those 2 or 3 times, did you see the teenagers just float downstream away from him?
No, because he was in front of them.
Okay. So when you said you saw him walk away, you mean he walked downstream from him?
He walked downstream. At one point, he walked around the side of them and around the back. He grabbed the tubes and stopped them from behind. And then he walked again in front of them. And he had started to walk downstream from them at that point, and that's when he turned around and charged at them. And I believe when he charged at them, Madison was off the tube and on her way over there, and the boys were following.
And you'd said that you had an obstructed view, but you could still see things, certain things.
I didn't
correct?
say I had an obstructed view.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you.
I thought you did, and so did
No, he
Oh,
asked me
Maria, thank you
as they
so
were
much.
walking over there, is it fair to say that at times it was obstructed?
Okay, so at times it was obstructed.
Correct.
But one of the things that wasn't obstructed
I
is
did
you
mention
observed
this.
your
I
son
just sent
Dante
John an
Carlson
email. He said
hit
if I could
Mr.
put
Miu,
on
correct?
That is correct.
a little
You
bit,
saw
hopefully
Mr.
we
Miu
can
go
make it.
down into the water, correct?
I saw him fall back onto his backside. I don't know that I'd call it going down in the water. The water was very shallow at that point.
Sure. The water was flowing over the ground, correct?
Yes.
Okay. It's still the river, correct?
Yeah.
Whether how deep the water is, he went into the water.
Yeah, it was probably 10 inches deep at that point.
Okay. He went into those 10 inches of water, agreed?
Yes.
And when you saw Dante hit him and he go down into those 10 inches of the water, that's when you yelled stop, correct?
Correct.
And your son didn't stop, did he? He was.
I don't know that I can say whether he stopped or not at that point.
Did
he
you
the
see
father
your
of
son Dante
her?
Carlson hit Nick Miu when he was down in that 10 inches of water?
I did not.
Did you see AJ Martin come up from behind Nick Miu and push him when Nick Miu was sitting in that 10 inches of water?
I did not.
Did you see your son Dante Carlson swing and hit Nick Miu in the front while AJ's pushing him from the back?
I don't know if AJ was pushing him from the back when Dante struck him or not. I did see Dante strike him from the front. I was unaware of the situation at that point. Didn't know why Dante had struck him. It was very out of character for Dante to hit someone. So I immediately yelled stop
Because you were worried.
because I didn't want it to escalate. That was the whole point of sending him over there, so that hopefully it wouldn't escalate.
But it had escalated, right?
It had,
And then you wanted it to stop, correct?
absolutely.
Nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. You may step down. Is he released?
Yes.
All right. Is he under your subpoena?
He was under the court subpoena by, I think we have his number. I can tell the court at the end.
Okay,
that He's free to go today. I will certainly inform the court and
Yeah.
Mr. Carlson. He doesn't need to sit in the hallway.
All right. So you're free to leave. He may be asked to come back on a different day. Thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
I'm gonna
Carlson.
do something here.
While we're in between witnesses, I'd like to have the illustration marked as an exhibit. Let's get a number assigned.
I think it would be 102, Judge.
Okay, 102.
Okay, I'm gonna read
Move for the
exactly
admission of
who he
exhibit
is.
102.
I'll
And that'll
go into
be
the
admitted
beginning of his
for
testimony
illustrative
after
purposes
that,
only.
Judge, are we
because,
talking about the handwritten diagram or the
I just want to clarify that.
printed diagram?
The handwritten diagram.
Okay.
I had marked exhibit 101. I did not walk away.
Because I think he was,
Didn't have a basis
he
to
said
walk.
his son to handle the situation.
All right, who is the
Well,
next
what I'm gonna
witness?
do, Marty, I'm
Dante
going
Carlson?
to go into the beginning of the testimony, and I'm going to check on exactly what this is all about. So we can get that straightened out. I'm trying to my notes to do that. Okay. I was gonna be on yesterday, you guys, but I had this very,
Mr. Carlson,
case of the
please
hiccups,
come forward.
and It was
Face the clerk, raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please have a seat in the witness chair.
I'm going to check on that for you then.
Can you please state your first and last name for the record?
Dante Carlson.
And Dante, do you work?
I do.
What do you do?
I am a cook.
And how old are you?
I am 21.
How old were you on July 30, 2022?
I was 20 years old.
And on that day, were you tubing on the Apple River
Yes, I was.
with your dad and some other people?
Yes.
Were you consuming alcohol?
Yes, I was.
Do you know how much you had?
A Budweiser, a White Claw. I think I had just opened a Truly when this all started.
And
They always say 1 or 2 when they actually have maybe
Um,
8 or 9. And there,
at some point, did something catch your attention as you were tubing down the river?
Yes, we heard screams for help.
And did you, what happened next?
My dad told us to post up and then wait, and then he told us to go over and see what was going on.
Did he say to try to de-escalate?
No, he didn't say de-escalate. He just asked us to figure out what was going on.
exactly.
And did you go
Okay.
over there?
Yes.
And could you hear the teenagers yelling?
Yes.
Do you remember what they're yelling?
I think you're right.
At first it was help, then it was cheering, and then they were calling him names.
And did you try to ask Nicolae what was going on?
Yes.
Did he answer you?
No.
Were you telling him to leave also?
Yes.
At some point, did it change from verbal to physical?
Yes.
And can you describe what you remember about like what you were doing, what you saw?
I had asked Nicolae Miu what was going on, what's going on. He didn't answer me, so I turned to the kids group and I went, what's going on? And they shouted, he's looking for little girls. And I'm like, he's looking for little girls? Confused. And then I went again to turn back and get his side of the story, and that's when he punched Mattison in the face.
What do you remember next after that?
I punched him.
Can we, actually, let me get it ready first. So did you punch him in response to him hitting Mattison?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna start on slide 2553. I'm gonna go through these and ask you some questions. I'm ready.
What was it?
And
Try clearing it out and starting again.
I'll try
You
to.
plugged in?
Yeah. My screen flashed. There we go. And so we're on 2553. Did you ever see Nicolae with a knife in his hand?
No.
Obviously, at the time, you didn't know Nicolae or the teenagers.
No.
I'm scrolling to the right. So is that you
Yes.
in 2557?
Yes.
So you're standing right to the right of
Mattison and Rhyley.
I'm gonna keep going.
Okay, I think this, here it is, you guys. It might be a little graphic, so be aware.
So
Is that her?
2661, is that where you're
Oh, she's
hitting
pretty
him? in
loud mouth,
response?
doesn't she?
Yes.
And they've been drinking. There's a can of beer. Drinking.
Who's that in the yellow shorts on just on the right?
That would be AJ Martin.
Right.
And then the last he was on the camera, he was walking over.
Yes.
Is that you? Is that you
Yes.
again? Okay. You didn't notice the knife
No.
there either? Okay, I'm going to just show you 3 frames here. 2744, 2745, 4 frames. 746, 2747. Does that look like you're hitting him again there?
Could be.
How many times do you remember hitting him?
I remember punching him, and then I believe I may have smacked him twice.
Oh,
Continuing to go through. And now, where you are on this, I'm paused at 2781. You're off to the right of the screen here.
Yes.
Oh my God, they were
And then
attacking him back.
2828, who's that?
That would be my brother, Tony.
Oh, there's no call. There's no reason to do that. I think everybody's guilty.
Who's that in the back on the top left?
No, that's Rhyley.
And I'm on frame 2880. Have you seen this video?
Yes.
Can you hear Tony yelling anything at this point in the video?
Yes.
I'll ask it a different way. I'll withdraw the question. If you recall, is Tony yelling anything at you at this part?
Yes.
What
I
was that?
believe he was
Yes.
yelling at us to stop.
And
Just put him on the stand. So this is
so he's facing you at this point in the video?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, I stopped at 2939. Now I want to play the video so we have audio. You can mute the screen or block the screen. After you saw Nicolae strike Maddie, did you yell something about it?
Yes.
Do you remember what you yelled?
You never hit a woman.
That is correct, Mommy.
I'm at 156 in the video.
Pushed her to the limit. Look. Pushing.
You hear me saying that in that portion of the video?
I do.
What?
And now I stopped at 157. I'm going to keep going forward.
Oh, okay. Thank you for coming in, Mommy.
So, Rhyley, now we see I'm at 202. Rhyley clutching her side. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you remember if you saw that at the time or not?
I do not remember.
But it was after, when she's seen with an injury on the video, it was after you yelled.
You don't hit a woman.
Did you do an interview with law enforcement?
Yes.
Well, actually, let me back up. So, at some point, are you stabbed?
Yes.
And what do you remember Actually, just what do you remember in your mind, not from the video, about what happened after? I guess first let me ask, do you remember Tony telling you to back up or get back?
I remember him pushing me away from the commotion.
Okay. And what do you remember after that?
I was pushed away, and then I heard screaming going on behind me, so I had turned around, and then I was looking at Nick, and he was standing maybe 6 feet in front of me. He just walked towards me and stabbed me.
And what do you recall happening after that?
I went to my dad.
Did you see what Nicolae did after that?
No.
Do you have a memory of the sequence of when people were stabbed?
Well, what
At
do you think
first,
was
I
going on?
thought it was Rhyley, me, Isaac, AJ, and then my brother. But as video has shown, that wasn't the order.
So when you were interviewed by law enforcement, when you're trying to remember and tell them what happened?
I believe that's the order I had used. I can't exactly say.
Were you in the hospital when you were interviewed?
Yeah.
It was the same day of the stabbings?
I think I was at the hospital for maybe 2 minutes before I was interviewed.
So at the scene, how'd you get to the hospital? Were you rushed away in an ambulance?
I remember leaning up against the cop car, and then coming to, I was in an ambulance. And then the next thing I know, I was on the highway being put into, I think, a helicopter.
And sometime shortly after you got to the hospital is when you were interviewed?
Yeah.
And did you tell law enforcement that you saw that it was Rhyley who got hit by Nicolae?
I could have.
You don't remember what you said in your interview?
Not by heart.
Where were you stabbed?
In my lower abdomen, I guess, my lower chest area,
Can you stand up and just point?
right here. I mean, I can show you if you want.
Are you comfortable showing you have a scar?
Yeah.
It shows the exact spot?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they drove the star.
Is that, looks like a little bit off to the center to the left, right below your rib cage?
Right below my ribcage, yeah.
In the jury scene?
Permission to approach?
Yes. Yes.
You took up a clothes.
31. Showing when it's been marked as 31. Can you identify what that is?
That is my stab wound. I think 2 days after I got home
Okay.
from the hospital.
Permission to publish?
Any objection to 31?
No objection to publication.
Received.
You just do Elmo. Yeah. Oh, do I have to turn it on? I can do it.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh, I can't even like to look at my own wounds after surgery. Yeah. Okay, what is this proving to show his stab wounds? Somebody, please tell me.
You've seen the video, is that right?
Yes.
Do you see yourself get stabbed in the video?
No.
And Dante, if your medical records say that your BAC was a .119, does that seem probably about in the ballpark?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have anything. Oh. How tall are you and what do you weigh?
6 foot and 185.
I think 4 or 5 more questions. Did you know if Nicolae was alone or in a group?
I didn't know.
Did he ever say he had a group upstream that you heard?
No.
Did you ever hear anyone threaten Nicolae before you saw the strike on Maddie?
No.
I don't have anything else.
Mr. Nelson?
Your testimony was that you had 2 beers prior to walking over there with the Truly in your hand?
Yeah.
And I would imagine you didn't consume really any of the Truly then, correct?
Correct.
So your testimony to the jury is the extent of the alcohol that you drank that day was 2 beers, correct?
But I was asked, yes.
Well, I'm asking you now under oath, is that truthful testimony?
I had 2 beers, yes.
Okay.
Oh, Dale, you probably have
And
more.
the
You all
medical
say
evidence,
2,
the
5.
medical chemical evidence is that your blood alcohol level was .119, correct?
Yes.
Do you understand that it would take a lot more than 2 beers to get to a .119 blood alcohol concentration?
I would.
Do you have any explanation how you can reconcile your oath, your under oath testimony that you only had 2 beers and the medical evidence that your blood alcohol concentration was .119?
Yes, I had some hard liquor as well.
Okay, so when you were asked questions about how much you had to drink, you
Oh.
chose to only say,
I was asked how many beers I had.
okay.
Oh,
And so unless somebody asks you specifically
damn.
an exact question, you're not going to just volunteer information that's hurtful to you, correct?
No, I was not asked the question, so I didn't answer. I figured he was going to ask it next, but
You know, and it's been 21 months now.
yeah,
And over those 21 months, you spoke with law enforcement numerous times.
yes,
You spoke with the district attorney's office numerous times.
yes,
You spoke with victim witness people numerous times.
yes.
And you were just waiting for somebody to ask you that perfect question.
Sustained.
Were you just waiting for somebody to ask you that perfect question?
Same.
Sustained. You made your point.
Oh, boy.
The photo, have you seen the photo of the 10 of you guys on the river that day?
Yes.
And in that photo, you're drinking a beer, correct?
I don't know.
Showing you what's been marked as exhibit, oh, no, you're not. Is it 26C, do you see that correct?
Yep.
You're not drinking a beer, I had that wrong.
Correct.
Okay. There's other people drinking beers, correct?
Yes.
All right.
It should be 26A, that's what we call the other one.
I'm sorry, I couldn't read it. 26A, not 26C. The hard liquor that you were drinking, what was that consumed in?
It was off on a riverbed shortly before we got to where the incident happened. There were shots of butterscotch schnapps out of skis.
Okay, and so you would consume those just prior to this, right?
Yeah.
We have that lower of the hideaway. Perfect. Oh, thank you. To show you what's been marked as exhibit number 25A. Can you see that from where you're standing?
Yes.
You see here that there's a position here that says hideaway bar. You see that?
Yes.
And then we see this here as incident location, correct?
Yep.
And from the start until you got off the river, you had 2 beers, correct?
Yes.
And then you had hard alcohol as well, correct?
Yes.
All of that hard alcohol you say was consumed at the Hideaway Bar?
I don't know if it was the Hideaway Bar. It was a point where people could camp and they offered us shots as we were riding down.
Okay, do you know of any other place on the river where you can buy shots at a bar other than there?
It was a campsite.
Okay. And so who offered you these shots?
I don't know.
Okay, a stranger offered you those shots?
Yes.
How many shots was it? 10?
A
No,
stranger?
like 2.
2 shots.
Yes.
So your testimony is that you had 4 alcoholic drinks that day, correct?
Yes.
Do you think 4 alcoholic drinks for a man who's 6 foot tall, 185 pounds, over the course of numerous hours would get your blood alcohol level to 0.119?
I'm not a scientist.
Okay. What was the objection?
Foundation, if we have foundation to calculate his own BAC.
Sustained.
Did you think you were intoxicated?
No.
The alcohol test that you took at the hospital, that was hours after the incident, correct?
I do not know when it was administered.
Did you have any alcohol after the incident?
No.
Do you know if your alcohol rate goes up or down after you've consumed alcohol?
I would assume it would go up.
All right, I want to ask you some things about what your dad told you, okay?
Sure.
You said, well, first off, did your dad tell you, did you hear him say, go over there, make sure they don't attack that guy?
No.
Your dad didn't say that?
Not that I had heard.
Okay. If he told the jury that, would he be lying?
Objection, Judge.
Sustained.
Can we approach, Judge?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
I'll move on, Judge.
Thank you.
You heard your dad say was go over there to try to figure out what's going on, correct?
Yeah.
That's what you understood your task was, correct?
Yeah.
And because at the time when you were over at the tubes, you didn't know what was going on, correct?
Correct.
And the best way to figure out what's going on is to ask questions and gather information, correct?
Correct.
And once you gather in that information, then you can make more decisions,
We should
correct?
just call the cops at
Yes.
that point.
And I think you told the police that you went over there because you were acting as a good Samaritan. Is that right?
Yes.
So you recall, what did you observe before you walked over there?
Him hanging around her tubes, grabbing onto the tubes, them screaming for help.
Okay. You've watched the video?
Yes.
You've listened to the video?
Yes.
Fair to say that there's no time on the recording in which it can be heard that those 6 teenagers are screaming for help. Agreed?
On the video, yeah.
Okay. So it's your testimony that sometime prior to that video, they were screaming for help.
Yes.
Were you shown the video that happened 2 seconds before that in which the teenagers are yelling at Nicolae Miu and calling him a raper?
Yes.
Were you shown that video?
Yeah, I believe I was.
Okay. And on that video, did you hear them screaming for help?
No.
So it's your testimony that prior to them calling this grown man a raper, they were screaming for help on the river.
Yes.
And after they'd screamed for help, they decided they're going to call him back when he's walking away and call him a raper. That's your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. And did you see Nicolae Miu walking away upstream from them and hear them call him a raper?
I didn't hear them call him a raper.
Did you see Nicolae Miu walking away from them upstream?
Towards the bridge or away from the bridge? Or are they going with the current, against the current?
Sure.
What do you mean by upstream?
Give me a second. So over to your right there is a diagram we drew with your dad, which has been marked as exhibit number 102. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you see on the top of that, it says downstream,
Yeah.
and the bottom it says upstream.
Yep.
I believe downstream would also be the position of the bridge, 3564 bridge. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
And as your dad described it, G2 would be your group, group 2. Make sense?
Yeah.
And then the 6 black circles, just for our conversation, would be the teenagers. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Did you see just before, or at some time, did you see Nicolae Miu walking away from those tubes upstream, away from the boys?
No.
You didn't see that?
No, I saw him walking downstream.
Okay. What you heard when he was walking downstream, is that when you say the boys were screaming for help?
Yes.
So was this sometime prior to the video in your memory?
It could have been right before they started recording.
Okay, because I just want to make sure we're established. You agree that they don't scream for help anywhere on that 3-minute and 23-second recording? Agreed?
Agreed, as far as I've seen.
Yes. And you agree that in the video just before that, which was started 11 seconds before, lasted 9 seconds, in which they call him raper, they don't scream for help in that video, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree that when you watch that video, he was walking away from them upstream, correct?
Yeah.
So what I understand your testimony to be is sometime prior to these 2 videos, they had screamed for help. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
And then-
Or in between then, that one video and that 3-second interval, they could have screamed for help there too.
Okay, so you think that they maybe paused or stopped the recording in order to scream for help, and then they started recording it then and just didn't say help at all?
Could have.
Could have, sure. All right. But the other scenario is that you heard this scream for help prior to the raper video, right?
Could have.
And if that was the case, you would agree that in the raper video where they're calling him raper, he's walking away from them upstream, correct?
It would look like that.
Okay. So you're going over there in order to gather information, right?
Yes.
And leading the charge from your group is Madison Cohen, agreed?
Agreed.
And when Madison Cohen goes over to that group, you see Nicolae Miu walk towards Madison Cohen, agreed?
Sure.
Yes?
Yeah.
And as he does that, the teenagers' tubes are free to go downstream, agreed?
Agreed.
Yes?
But yes.
When you see Nicolae Miu walk away from the teenagers, clearing a path for them downstream, what do you see the teenagers doing?
I wasn't paying attention to them. I was paying attention to Nicolae.
Okay. Did you gesture to the teenagers to float downriver? We've got this guy now?
Like I said, I wasn't paying attention to them. I was paying attention to Nicolae.
Okay. Did you encourage the teenagers to leave at that point?
No.
Why not?
I was just there to figure out what was going on.
Okay. And so when you got there to try to figure out what's going on, did you hear Madison Cohen immediately say to Nicolae Miu, go, get your fucking ass, go, something along those lines?
Yes.
Fair to say Madison Cohen wasn't asking questions, agreed?
Agreed.
Fair to say Madison Cohen was giving orders, right?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
And she gave it in a loud, strong voice, correct?
Yes.
And when Madison Cohen was occupying Mr. Miu, telling him what to do, what were the teenagers doing?
I do not know.
Did you in any way gesture to the teenagers to continue on downriver?
Once again, I was not paying attention to them. I was paying attention to Nick.
Okay. Weren't these the group of people that you said you were going there to help?
Yes.
Weren't you concerned about their well-being?
Yes.
And so you didn't pay attention at all to the group that you went over there to help?
Objection argumented at last and answered twice.
Did you, I'll rephrase, did you pay attention at all to this group of people that
Yes.
you would, okay,
I did pay attention to the kids. I did not tell them to leave. I did not tell them to stay.
okay. So what were they doing when you and Madison
Standing
Cohen?
by their tubes.
Hold on, I'm going to call a timeout here. Because everything's being written down by the court reporter. We have to have a question completed before you start your answer. And please let the witness finish his answer before you start the next question. There's a lot of overlapping talk.
Dante, I get a little into a rhythm and I might have cut you off, so I apologize.
Same here.
We'll both, all right. I want to talk about other things that you may have observed in that interaction there initially with Mr. Miu, okay?
Okay.
Did you see, you said you're looking for an explanation. When Mr. Miu walked over to you and Madison, did you see Mr. Miu gesture to that other group?
Not like that, but I did see him like turn around and point at them, but he didn't say anything. All he did was sit and point.
Okay. There was a time, you watched the video, right?
Yes.
And at about 1 minute and 7 seconds into the video, you say, it doesn't matter to Mr. Miu, correct?
Yes.
And fair to say that the reason you would say it doesn't matter to Mr. Miu is Mr. Miu is giving you some sort of explanation, correct?
No, he was pointing at the kids.
Okay,
And I said, it doesn't matter. They're just kids.
all right. So your purpose was to go over there to get information,
Yes.
and he gave you information in a nonverbal manner, right?
We can call it that.
What else would we call it?
A gesture.
Okay. And when he gave you that information with the gesture, did you listen or did you tell him it doesn't matter?
I told him it doesn't matter.
Okay. So when you initially said you were going over there to gather information, maybe that's not really what you're doing?
Maybe not from him, but from the kids.
Okay. So you weren't really interested in his side of it?
Not really.
Okay. And is part of that because they had called him names?
No, it's because they asked for help. I went to go see what the people screaming for help were wanting.
Okay. And if you perhaps misheard that and they weren't actually calling for help, maybe that's how this got off on the wrong foot?
Maybe, but I'm pretty sure they were screaming help.
Okay. You said you heard them cheer, is that right?
Yeah.
And was the cheering in response to you and Madison walking over?
Yes.
Would you agree that a group of 6 teenagers cheering doesn't sound like a group that needs help?
No, it sounds like a group that got what they wanted.
Okay.
Some people to come over and help them.
Okay. When you heard them cheering, did you hear them laughing?
No.
Did you hear them giggling?
No.
Did you hear them cackling?
No.
Did you hear them use the expression, for the culture,
I did
repeatedly?
not. I just heard, woo. And
Okay.
that was pretty much all I heard from them.
And when you heard the term woo, you took that as the cheering, correct?
Yes.
Certainly doesn't sound, woo and asking for help are very different things, right?
Yeah.
At some point, did you observe Mr. Miu turn his back on you and Madison?
To face the kids again? Yes.
Did you see him turn his back on basically you and the kids and look downstream?
No.
You never saw that?
Not that I can recall.
Fair to say you saw him walk over to you and Madison and the path downstream was clear for quite some time, correct?
Yes.
During that, would you agree that it's probably clear for upwards of 60 seconds?
Yeah.
During that 60 seconds, did you ever take the time to tell the teenagers who were cheering that they could just leave and go down the river?
No.
Did you ever gesture to them to say, move along?
Objection asked and answered like 10 minutes ago, I think.
I think this is the 60-second entire time, Judge. And once I do, then it's,
Wrap it up then.
I do not.
Wait for his, he's gonna ask a question.
I bet.
you can go.
I do not remember gesturing to them.
Okay. Why not?
I wasn't focused on them at that time.
Even though they were the ones calling for help.
Yes.
You were focused on the man that they were calling a pedophile.
Yes.
And I imagine when you heard that, that made, I think as you told the police, that made you mad, right?
No, I was confused.
Okay. And when you were confused, did you stop and gather more information?
I tried to.
Okay, what did you do?
I asked, what do you mean by that? Because they said that he was looking after little girls. I went, he's looking after little girls? What do you mean?
And did they respond?
No, they did not.
Did you hear the group say in response to your question, yeah, he's looking for little girls, we got it on tape, something along those lines?
That sounds like their answer, yeah.
And when you heard that, did you believe that to be true?
I didn't know what to believe.
Were you upset at Mr. Miu?
No,
Did you hear them call him a pedophile?
no, I did not hear it. At least not that I remember.
Fair to say you're not a fan of pedophiles.
I mean, who is?
Agreed. And if you did understand him to be a pedophile, you would think less of him in that position, correct?
Understandably, yes.
Yeah. You would think he's got less right to be in the space that he's occupying, correct?
Especially with children, yes.
And you didn't, there were no little girls around, were there?
No.
And the children that you referred to, it's like this group of 17-year-olds, correct?
Yes.
Group of 17-year-old football players who are pretty fit and tall, agreed?
I wasn't looking at their statures or builds. They looked like children to me, so I had assumed they were children.
Okay. And by children, you mean is 17-year-old somebody that's a children?
I would say between at least under 18, but they looked 13 to 17 to me.
Okay, that's what your position was.
Yes.
Now, you made some statements to the police, correct?
Yes.
You made some statements about the observations that you made on that day on the river, right?
Yes.
And the statements that you made to the police were that same day in the hospital, agreed?
Agreed.
And they were statements that you made about your friends that you were there on the river with, correct?
Yes.
You were on the river with Rhyley Mattison, correct?
Yes.
She's a friend of yours from high school.
Middle school.
So you've known Rhyley Mattison for years and years, correct?
Yes.
And you were on the river with Madison Cohen, correct?
Yes.
Same thing, a friend that you'd known since middle school, correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So somebody that, you know, and Madison's clearly got blonde hair, right?
Yeah.
And Riley's clearly got a brunette or a different color hair than blonde, right? Very different.
Yeah.
Their body shapes are different.
Yeah.
Their personalities are different.
Yeah.
You can distinguish between the two of them, right?
Sometimes.
Okay. And what you told the police, on Madison, I'm sorry, on July 30th, they were asking you about what happened, is that right?
Yes.
And you told them, I thought he had hit my friend Rhyley and I automatically reacted. That's what you told them?
Yes.
You used the name Rhyley, correct?
Yes.
Then you also said to them, me and Rhyley were standing right next to each other and he like got up close to Rhyley and Rhyley pushed him away and he did a swift motion towards her, correct?
Yes.
And the her you're referring to that sentence is the only name that you used, which was Rhyley, correct?
Yes.
When asked again about it, you told the police, I don't know if Rhyley pushed him or something. I didn't see that. All I saw was him make a motion towards her and I saw her fall down. So I reacted and hit him. You said those words?
Yes.
And the name that you used in that situation was Rhyley.
Yes.
And the description that you gave in that situation is you saw him, Mr. Miu, make a motion, correct?
Yes.
And that as a result of that motion, you said you saw Rhyley fall down, correct?
Yes.
And then in response to that, the officer asked you, can you describe Rhyley to me? you remember that?
Yes.
And you said she is brunette, skinny, has tattoos down her arm, correct?
Yes.
And that, fair to say, accurately describes Rhyley Mattison, correct?
Yes.
Madison Cohen is not a brunette, correct?
Correct.
You wouldn't use, again, I apologize to, you wouldn't necessarily use the same description of Madison's body as you used when describing Rhyley, correct?
Correct.
And you also said the person had tattoos down her arm, correct?
Yes.
That accurately describes Rhyley, not Madison, correct?
Yes.
That's what you told the police on that day, correct?
Yes.
And then lastly, you told them later in that same interview, I think it was Rhyley who went like that, but I'm not 100% sure. And then all I saw was the swift motion. Rhyley fell to the ground. I hit him. He fell. That's what you said, correct?
Yes.
So again, the fourth time you described it as something happening to Rhyley, correct?
Correct.
And in each of those 4 times, you never used the word punch. Agreed?
Agreed.
Each of those times you used the words swift motion, correct?
Yes.
That's what you described that you saw on that day about this, correct?
Yes.
Now today, 21 months later, you're saying something different, agreed?
Agreed.
Now today you're saying it's not that you saw Rhyley, not that you saw a swift motion go to Rhyley, but that you saw Madison get punched. That's your testimony today, correct?
Yes.
In those 21 months, from the first story to the new story, you've talked to Madison Cohen?
Not really, but yes.
You've talked to Rhyley Mattison?
A little, yes.
You've talked to others in the group?
My family, yes.
You've talked to the district attorney's office?
Yes.
And since you've talked to all those people,
Mom, we
you
had
now
to
have a new story,
the
right?
doctor's appointment, so.
I have a better recollection of what had happened, if that's
What's
what you're asking. Yes.
CCW?
So the fact that you were at a .19 on that day, you now have a better recollection today than you did on that day. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, they also questioned me when I was on pain pills from the hospital.
I thought your
CCW,
testimony was
there's a
that they came there and
below
saw you within
that
2 minutes of
describes
your
the
arrival.
tickets
Yes.
that we were
Okay.
watching.
And so in those 2 minutes, you'd consume those pain pills and it's your position?
Whatever they gave me on that helicopter.
Okay. You had said, going back to your statement to the police, I just want to dial in on one of the things. The last time you spoke, you said, I think it was Rhyley who went like that, but I'm not 100% sure. I want to ask you about that sentence, okay?
Okay.
There's a video of you making that verbal statement. Do you understand that?
You.
And in that video, it shows you move your hand kind of like this. Is that right?
Yes.
And you had both of your hands up in a manner in which someone would push out towards another person, correct?
Or push away from.
Sure. They were extending their hands, which were close to their body, to push outward towards whatever in front of them, correct?
Yes.
That's what you demonstrated when you said, I think Rhyley went like that.
Yes.
Can you just show us that demonstration now? Okay. And you were able to show us that demonstration because
Okay.
that's what you remember as you sit here
good.
today. Rhyley did that, correct?
Yes.
And in response to Rhyley doing that, that's when you saw the swift motion.
No. I remember it differently now, but
After talking to other people, you remember it differently. But the thing you,
after thinking about it for the last 21 months and seeing it every night, yeah.
but what you absolutely know, because you said it then and you say it now, is you remember just before Nicolae Miu getting punched by you, you saw Rhyley Mattison push her hands out toward him, correct?
Yes.
That's for sure, correct? Had you seen Rhyley Mattison get up in Mr. Miu's face?
No.
Had you seen Madison Cohen get up in Mr. Miu's face?
Not up in the face, but she was talking to him face to face, yes.
Would you be heard others say it's in his personal space? Would you agree with that?
In his bubble, yeah.
She's right there in his bubble, correct?
Like, not in his face, but like talking to him like a normal distance would be.
Okay. But you used the term in his face. You'd agree with that?
Sure.
Okay. I want to ask you about what you did to Nicolae Miu, okay?
Okay.
You said you saw a swift motion and you reacted and punched him, correct?
Yes,
You laid him out, correct?
I guess.
Well, those are the words that you used when the police asked you to describe what you did to him. You said, I laid him out, correct?
Yes.
Fair to say that when you used the term, I laid him out, you said it with a sense of pride.
I guess. I mean,
You were proud of laying this man out in response to what you observed regarding the swift motion, correct?
no, I was proud of defending a woman.
Okay. And so I want to get into that, right? And so what you understand is you're defending a woman, correct?
Yes,
Which woman?
Madison.
Okay. And the woman that you say you're defending, she fell to the ground.
I believed at the time she did, yeah.
Okay. And you believe that because that was your memory?
Yes,
And you say that now, I believed it at the time because you know that the video shows she didn't fall down, correct?
correct.
So what we know is your memory is wrong, at least in regards to that, correct?
Yes,
So there's times that your memory is wrong about what happened that day, correct?
I guess, yes.
There could be many explanations for why it's wrong, correct?
Yes,
Just human memory is not perfect, agreed?
agreed.
It might be wrong because you were intoxicated,
A little,
0.119, right?
yeah,
You're over the legal limit, correct?
yeah,
You would agree that that might have impacted your ability to accurately perceive things.
I guess, yes.
Might have,
Wait,
that might have
yes.
impacted your ability to accurately recall things.
Dante Carson helped the
I
group.
guess, yes.
Right
Another thing
out
that
for
might have
help.
affected your memory is perhaps the stress and the trauma of everything that happened afterwards, correct?
Yes,
Another thing is that you could just be intentionally telling an untruth. That's possible too, correct?
no,
That's not possible.
no.
Is it possible?
Let's take a recess. We'll come back in 15 minutes.
Okay, all
Let's
right.
take the jury out.
15 minutes,
Oh, shit.
and we can discuss the case while they are away on a 15-minute break. Plenty of time to get on the same page. And it's below, is down below. So anyway, I'll read it out now. I am going to put this on a mute. Hello, everybody. I'm glad they are on a 15-minute break.
Recess for 15 minutes. 2:55.
2:55 their time. 3 o'clock mine. All right, next. Okay. Now, the case is about, just a minute here, let me get this description here. The case is about a man named Nicolae Miu. He's 54 years old, and he is accused of stabbing a teenager to death and injuring 4 others while tubing on the Apple River in Wisconsin back in July 2022. So it was a couple years ago. Isaac Schuman, the 17-year-old, was killed, and Rhyley Mattison, who's 24 years old, was suffered a severe stab wounds. Miu is facing multiple charges, including first-degree intentional homicide, attempt first-degree homicide, and battery with a dangerous weapon. And Miu claims he acted out in self-defense. So I am going to look for something that could help you understand the case a little bit, hold on for a few minutes while I do that. I will put up a video just to show people what actually happened. And just give me a few minutes here. I will do that. I just got to find something here. Yeah, there was, I know, I took it off so I can have everybody hear what I was saying. I am going to find the video of the stabbing of the horror. And this should help. Yeah, let me see if I can find something that would. Okay, here we go. This is a little bit of the opening statements. I'm just going to go run through this a little bit. Just a minute, please. All right, advertisement fund. Oh, sometimes can't find it when I want. Hold on for just a minute here. I'm supposed to be on a panel of writers this weekend. I just know I'll be the one with sounds issues. Oh, that's going to be fun. Okay, that's really cool. Okay. All right, where is this tab? Okay, here we are.
This trial, then Nicolae said it was self-defense. But there's a video of what happened. You're going to see the video.
Over and over again.
You're going to see the sequence of. He wasn't actually in this picture, but.
Okay, so here's a picture of the rafters and the picture of what we're seeing. And it just to set the scene here. And let's see if I can find. And then here is the person who is, excuse me. Here's the person who is on trial right here. Can everybody see that? Pretty good.
You'll hear it in the video. They took my snorkel. Get away from us. Walk away.
Okay, wait. All right, here it is.
In extremely shallow water. Getting really close to them, not really saying anything. He's got we'll describe a strange look in his face. They're creeped out by him. You'll hear from several of them.
Okay, thanks.
That he said something about looking for little girls. You'll hear from one or two that he said something about looking for a phone. Jawan, second from the left, filmed the main video in this case. He also filmed a 9-second video shortly before that main video. And in that 9-second video, you'll see Jawan saying, he said he's looking for little girls, he's a raper. And Nicolae is walking away. He doesn't keep walking away. At the end of that video, he stops and he turns around. 2 seconds later is when that main video starts. The video of the stabbings. See at that start of the main video, Nicolae is walking towards the group of tubers. They're down in their tubes, the teenage boys, Isaac's group. In the beginning, when Nicolae is walking towards him, he's got his hand down on a pocket, the right of his shorts. You'll hear from people from his group that that's where he kept his knife. You'll see in the video that he then starts to run. He runs at the boys who are
The
down in
opening
their
statement
tubes.
from the,
It's the only time in this video you'll see Nicolae run.
I was going to be on yesterday, but I had a
Teenage boys. He doesn't even run after stabbing 5 people. He walks away. There's his hand on that pocket. He's carrying his snorkel and goggles. That group in the background there, in the middle photo, that's the Carlson's group. And eventually come over in response to the yells of the kids. Nicolae puts his goggles in his mouth and grabs onto their tubes with 2 hands. You'll hear in the video the boys are yelling, "Whoa, whoa, what's this guy doing, weirdo?" You can see their reactions in the video. That's Alex Vang on the left. Nicolae drops his goggles and snorkel in the water. He then starts reaching in the water where they fall into the water. Starts walking around their tubes. They're yelling at him, get away from us, walk away. They're also chirping at him. You'll hear Juwan saying, he's a pedophile.
Winning comes without a guarantee. At Barry Law, we're in it to win it.
Nicolae says something back. You can't hear it in the video. He's standing, now this is facing downriver. So the direction they're tubing, that's that bridge going over the river in the background. Boys are yelling, get away. That's Isaac in the middle photo with the white hat, purple trunks. That's Isaac again on the left photo, standing with his hands up, fingers splayed. You can see a gold bracelet on his left wrist. You see that again later in the video. At this point in the video, you hear the boys start to cheer. And that's because you hear from them that the Carlsons, some adults were coming over to help. Those 2 people you see walking over are Mattison and Dante. Madison's later punched, Dante's later stabbed. There's Isaac's bracelet. As Mattison is walking over, she's yelling, go, go, go. Nicolae says, you'll hear it in the video, they took my snorkel. Madison's pointing and yelling for him to go. You can see in that pocket on his shorts, metallic clip of his pocket knife. Madison's pointing and yelling at him to go. Nicolae turns his back to her, looks back at the group of boys in the right photo. She directs him back away from the boys, back to her. We hear from her, that's why she went over them in the first place, was to try to get him away from the boys. She keeps telling him to go. He starts smiling. He waves upstream towards his group. More women from the Carlson group come over. That's Rhyley in the middle, in that middle photo. She ends up getting stabbed. Right photo, you can see Nicolae puts his hand on that knife in his pocket again. He's smiling. The boys are laughing. They're drunk 17-year-old boys. They have nothing in their hands, as you'll see in the video. They're laughing and pointing at Nicolae. He's smiling. And then you'll see his hands start moving. Can't quite see what they're doing. You can see they come together in front of his waist. You can see behind him, there's nothing but clear and empty water. As Mattison and Rhyley, two women, are talking to him, telling him to leave, he takes out his knife. He opens it, blade up, still smirking, looking straight at the women. You'll not see Nicolae raise his knife and brandish it. You'll not hear him yell at anyone to get back. You'll not see him say anything at this point in the video after he takes his knife out. You'll not see him try to take a step back or walk away. You will see him looking around, smirking, while continuing to hold the knife down by his side. While holding the knife, he looks around, looks back over at the boys. You can see Rhyley leaning over, trying to keep his attention. Nothing but clear water behind him. You'll see Mattison's got sunglasses on. As more people from the Carlson group come over, that's AJ in the yellow swim trunks.
Yes, it's good to have
He gets
looking at
ultimately stabbed. You'll see
another court.
that's Dante in the right photo. He gets stabbed. This entire video is 3 minutes and 23 seconds long. It's not a very long video. But from the point in the video when witnesses say Nicolae punched Mattison until you see Nicolae walking off after having stabbed 5 people is only about 20 to 25 seconds. It happens very fast in the video. You'll see that when you see it played in real time. You'll see the boys are loud, they're boisterous. You'll hear that in the video. There's a lot of yelling. Pedophile is looking for little girls. Go, get away from us. You'll not hear anyone in the video threaten Nicolae. You'll not see anyone raising fist to him before it turns physical. You won't see anyone besides Nicolae with a weapon. You don't see the boys touch Nicolae until after stabbings start. The next portions of the still frames is moments before the witnesses say it turned physical when Nicolae punched Mattison in the face, who was one of the women standing in front of him. The Carlsons say he punched Mattison. The boys, the teenagers, say he punched the blonde girl. They didn't know her name, they didn't know each other. It happens fast. Remember, up to this point, Nicolae already has the knife in his hand. After it pans, from the last frames I showed you, AJ was walking over in the yellow swim trunks. The video pans back to the middle. You see Mattison and Rhyley are standing in front of Nicolae. The video pans to the left. You see the boys still laughing. That's Isaac in the background of the middle photo. He's pretty much standing there in the background. Then you see everybody react and you hear it. You hear the change in the tone. And this is when witnesses say Nicolae punched Mattison in the face. You hear Mattison testify.
Okay, the court is back.
Nicolae punched her in the face.
I am going to go ahead and put the trial back on. Just a minute, let me get rid of this. Okay, I will put the trial on. Okay.
The other witness said this, does that make him or her a liar? I think the state objected at least twice, maybe more.
Okay,
Sustained
anybody
both
hear that?
objections. There was a sidebar. Mr. Nelson brought to my attention State versus Victor Johnson, which is a case that I'm familiar with. Generally speaking, one witness may not comment on the credibility of another witness, and making comments about whether someone is or isn't a liar, in my opinion, is commenting on their credibility. Victor, in some unique circumstances, and that is where one witness perceives the event and says one thing, another witness perceives the same event and says something different. Victor Johnson allowed one witness to say, I'm telling the truth, he's telling a lie, believe me more than the other witness. That's not what we have here because, to my recollection, both of the times the witness either didn't recall or did not perceive the event. So it's not the same situation as Victor Johnson. And I thought that the questions that were being put to the witness was more akin to commenting on credibility. So that's the reasoning for the objection being sustained. Mr. Nelson, if you want to add to the conversation, you may.
Your Honor accurately cited what the sidebar was. I hope respectfully said I disagree, but I'm going to move on. So I just want to make note that I continue to disagree, but I'm not going to spend any more court time making any additional arguments other than I disagree with that analysis, and we'll move on.
Fair enough. Let's bring the jury in.
Should we bring up Dante to get that?
Sure, yes. Thought the jury was ready, but
All rise for the jury.
all right, please be seated. All right, we're back in the presence of the jury. We are ready to continue. I anticipate we will break again somewhere close to 4:30. We'll break for the day then. Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Carlson, I want to ask you about, I was going to get into what you've done in response to what you saw, but I want to go back just a little bit.
Okay.
Your testimony today is you saw Madison Cohen get punched. I'm just putting us all in that same space.
Yes.
Describe this punch.
It came from his left side. I would say it was a pretty fast, swift motion like that.
Okay, so are you right now going on a memory that you have in your head of what you remember seeing?
Yes.
And what you've just shown us is you used your left arm to move
funny.
forward in what I would describe a jabbing motion. Would that be fair?
I used my right arm.
You used your right arm. Okay. Did you see Nicolae Miu use his right hand?
Yes.
And so your testimony to the jury is Nicolae Miu punched Madison Cohen with his right hand.
Yes.
And trying to use words, the best thing is that I've heard it described as a hook. I saw you do something different. Can you just show us again what it is you saw?
It was like, it started from his side and it went out like that.
Okay. Kind of straightforward. So his hands in front of him, down at his side.
Down at his side, and then it, like, I guess you could say it was like a hook, but it wasn't. It was
Okay.
like a jab.
It came down and it went up. Agreed?
Agreed.
And it came from his body position outwards towards the other person, correct?
Correct.
And it seems like as my arm's kind of in my body plane, you see that?
Yes.
It stays essentially within the body plane is what you're saying.
No, it was kind of off to the right.
It went like this.
Kind of. It was. As it went up, it curved to the right.
Okay. So again, trying to use words.
I don't know the correct words to use to describe it.
We'll sort through it. It seems like you're saying basically not a full hook, not a full jab, something in between.
Yes.
Okay, but it's clearly with his right hand, correct?
Yes.
I didn't notice her
Are
clothing.
you aware
I'll
that
have to
prior
notice it.
to that, would you say happened at about 150 in the video? Is that about right? Do you remember watching the video and it's around the 150 mark?
Sure.
Sound about right?
Yeah.
And do you know that in the video you can observe Mr. Miu standing in front of Rhyley and Mattison with the knife in his right hand?
Yes.
So it's with the hand that's holding the knife that he punches her.
Yes.
And where does this punch that you say he hits her with the hand with the knife, where does that land on her?
The left side of her face.
Okay, on the left side of her face.
Yes.
Okay. And okay. Look to be a forceful punch,
Yes.
more than just like a little tap.
Yes.
Like a full-grown man punching a woman square in the face, correct?
Yes.
And it must have punched her, I think you indicated up like on her eye level, is that right?
I would say so. Yes.
Like, and so it would have been near her left eye.
On her cheekbone is, I guess, would probably be the best place to put it. Around this area.
Okay. Around, and when you just said around this area, it was your hand, I think, went a
I'm
little.
sorry. Like the cheekbone area.
Just under where your glasses protect your face, correct?
Correct.
You have on a pair of, would you agree, rather small eyeglasses, correct?
Yes.
And on that day, Madison Cohen had some oversized sunglasses on, correct?
Yes.
And so the area that you're pointing to on her face would have been covered by those oversized sunglasses, correct?
I wouldn't say covered, but sure.
Sure. So this grown man holding a knife as a hand reaches out and punches her in the eye where her sunglasses are, correct?
Her cheekbone, but yeah.
Okay. Right near her sunglasses, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that her sunglasses are in perfect condition?
Objection, assuming the facts on that.
Well, what does it have to do anything with
I'm asking
the,
if he's aware
her
of that.
sunglasses?
I think that's what
No,
was established. Okay.
Sustained.
Do you know the condition of her eyeglasses?
Okay, why?
Would you expect a woman standing in front of a man with oversized eyeglasses that got punched in the manner that you did, would you expect her glasses to be bent, broken, disturbed in some manner?
Objection, speculation.
Speculation is right.
When you're standing there and you see this, you must have been ready to respond right away.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you said you hit him immediately, correct?
Yes.
So there wasn't any time for you to type of assess anything. You just hit him right away, correct?
After I saw him punch her, yes.
So you saw it and had to have your body like process what happened, and then you moved into action, correct?
Yes.
So it wasn't as if you saw it happening and at the same time you started swinging, correct?
Can you?
You weren't violent until you saw this, correct?
Correct.
And when you saw this violence, it must have surprised you.
Yes.
It must have shocked you.
Yes.
It must have taken you a moment to assess what are you going to do, correct?
No.
You just, after you made that observation, you then moved your body, correct?
Yes.
Would you agree that your moving that body from making that observation would have taken you a second or two?
Sure.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You agree that when you saw this, well, let me say this. So why, you punched him, you said, in defense of her. Is that what you said?
Yes.
What were you feeling at that time?
Anger, I guess.
Okay. And the anger was at Nicolae Miu, correct?
Yes.
You've, fair to say, never described to anybody, even today, that your feeling was of fear, correct?
I would say, yeah.
You agree, you've never described your feelings on that day as to why you punched him was you punched him out of fear.
Correct.
Because you weren't fearful, you were angry.
Yes, he hit my friend.
Sure. And so you hit him in response to hitting her because you were angry, correct?
Yes.
It wasn't because you believed her safety was in danger, right? You agree?
I don't know. I reacted in case it was.
Sure. And you reacted by hitting him, not tending to your friend, correct?
Yes.
After you hit him once, he fell in the water, correct?
Yes.
And as he fell in the water, you moved to get over him, correct?
Yes.
You moved to position yourself in a way that you could strike him a second time, correct?
Yes.
And you moved to position yourself to set yourself up for that second strike to be with your right hand, correct?
Yes.
That was your dominant hand, correct?
Yes.
You wanted to make sure the force that you hit upon him was the most dominant force you could use, and that would be with your right hand.
I would say, I wouldn't say I did it purposely. I just think my body naturally went to the right side.
Okay. To set yourself up to hit him a second time, correct?
Yes.
Clearly, when he's down in the water on his back, Maddie's safe, right?
Yes.
He's not in any danger, agreed? You agree?
For now, yeah.
In that moment, she's not in any danger, agreed?
Agreed.
And you're not in any danger, agreed? He's down on the ground, correct?
Yes.
You're not in any danger. You agree?
I would say,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm in it.
You would agree that you and Maddie and the 11 other people there are not in danger when Nicolae Miu is down on the ground in the water after you hit him. Agreed?
I wouldn't say agree to that.
Okay.
He was still a danger.
Okay. He was a danger while he was on his back in the water, surrounded by you and your friends.
Yes.
And because you believe, that's what you believed at that time?
Yes.
And you believe that because of the one time you saw him hit your friend, correct?
Yes.
So you observed one act and you thought he's still a danger even if he's down and in the water, correct?
Yes.
That's, you were fearful at that time? Or were you still angry?
I believe it was a little bit of both.
Okay, so when you punched him the first time, it wasn't out of fear. You weren't afraid until he was down in the water.
Yes.
But when he's down in the water, you're fearful and angry, and then you hit him, correct?
Yes.
And you do that with your right hand so that you can make sure you hit him with enough force, correct?
I wasn't making sure to hit him with enough force, but
Okay.
my body just naturally positioned itself to the right side.
Okay. And after you hit him the second time, you saw your friend Anthony Martin come up behind Mr. Miu, right?
No.
You didn't see that?
No.
You were aware that that happened?
Yes.
Now that you watched the tape, you understand that Anthony Martin was coming up behind him, correct?
Yes. I was also being pushed away at the same time, though.
Who was being pushed away?
I was.
Okay. You were being pushed away at the same time, let me just make sure. While Anthony Martin is pushing Nicolae Miu down from back,
Yes.
you're being pushed away by somebody else.
I believe I was, yes.
And that somebody else was your brother.
No, I think that was a couple seconds later, but yes.
Who pushed you away?
I don't know. They pushed me from behind.
Okay, well, let me show you let me just. Can I have the screen? I'm showing you slide 2699. Do you see that?
Yes,
Do you see, is that Nicolae Miu in the water?
yes,
Do you see a shadow of an arm across Nicolae Miu's chest?
yes.
Is that the shadow of your arm?
I would believe so, yes.
And then I'm going to move forward here, and that's us, those slides up to 2707, that's your right hand hitting him across his chin, side of his face, ear, head. Agreed?
Agreed.
And then in response to that, Nick Miu head goes back to touch the water again, correct? And then as we watch here on the video, Anthony Martin is coming up behind, is that right?
Yes,
And we see 2 feet in front of Nicolae Miu, is that correct?
yes,
Those are your feet, correct?
yes,
You're standing in front of him, correct?
yes.
And you're at this time preparing to hit him for a third time, correct?
I believe so.
And that 2745, that's your hand or your elbow forearm that we see in the upper left portion of that frame, correct?
Yes,
And then here, this is your right shin, your right leg, is that correct?
that looks like the top of his head, but I would say it's,
Let me go back a couple, maybe it's,
oh, yes. Sorry.
does that appear to be your,
Yeah,
agreed, nobody standing behind you here that we were aware of at least?
yes,
And then you swing through and we see
Stand up
through the
on.
middle there, your hand at 2747 hitting Nick Miu again in the front of his head somewhere, correct?
Wasn't it?
yes,
And while you're hitting him in the front, AJ Martin is pushing him down from behind, correct?
yes,
That's the third time that you've hit him, correct?
Oh,
yes,
Dennis is right. He does look like.
You're hitting him out of anger.
Oh.
Agreed?
yes.
From my
You're not hitting him in defense of anybody there, right?
False, I was.
You believed that at that point you feared for your safety?
No, I feared for everyone else's safety. No, I didn't fear, okay, you're getting me confused.
That's right.
All right, well, let's take a step back. I'll ask it again, okay? Tell me in this photo when you're hitting him the third time, whose safety do you fear for?
My friends,
Okay, which friends in particular?
Madison, AJ, Tony, Rhyley, Janelle, Scotty.
But
my
don't you
father,
think it looked like they
Sheena.
were getting up on him?
So let's go through that list. Do you know where Madison is there?
No,
Do you know where Rhyley is there?
no.
Do you know where your brother Tony is there?
I believed he was walking up right behind AJ.
Okay. You know where AJ is, correct?
Yes,
AJ's behind Nicolae Miu, pushing him down from behind, agreed?
agreed.
But in that situation, you were worried for AJ's safety?
Yes,
And as a result of your fear for AJ's safety, that's why you hit Nick Miu a third time, correct?
yes,
And you thought that amount of force was necessary.
yes.
Do you think that's reasonable?
I did.
You did in that time.
Yes,
And you did in that time because of the escalated nature of everything that was going on there. Everybody was just fearful around there, correct?
yes,
Now, let me ask you about that because you say you're in fear, but when you hit him the first time, you had a beer in your left hand, right?
yes,
And when you hit him the second time, you still had the beer in your left hand, right?
yes,
And when you hit him the third time, you still had a beer in your hand, correct?
yes,
Have you heard the expression, hold my beer?
yes,
Is that basically like, I'm going to go do something, you should hold this, I'm going to need 2 hands, correct?
yes.
In this situation, you didn't even ask somebody to hold your beer, right?
I didn't have time to.
You were confident enough that you could do this while holding your beer.
No, I wasn't confident in it at all.
Okay. So why did you keep the beer in your hand?
Yeah.
I was just holding it.
Okay.
That's,
I want to ask you some questions about your confidence level as the time passed, right?
okay.
Before he, as you say, made a swift motion towards a person which you now say is Madison, were you afraid?
I wouldn't say it was fear, more as confusion.
Okay, so up until that moment, you had no fear, correct?
Correct.
And I would imagine at some point, you knew what the numbers were, correct? You knew that there were 6 people in the original group, correct?
Yes.
And that you and Madison went over there originally, correct?
Yes.
So that makes 8, agreed?
Agreed.
And then Rhyley Mattison joined, that makes 9. Yes?
Yes.
And then Gabby and Janelle were standing around there, correct?
Yes.
Makes 10 and 11, agreed?
Yes.
And then Anthony, your brother Anthony Carlson joined in, correct?
Yes.
That makes 12.
Yes.
And then AJ Martin joined in, that makes 13, correct?
Yes.
13 against 1, correct?
Yes.
Imagine you were feeling pretty confident then, correct?
No.
Didn't feel confident.
No.
Were you afraid?
In a way, yes.
And it's, we're to believe that in that situation,
Objection, argumentative.
that's fair. I'll withdraw.
Thank you.
You said, well, this was going on. Your brother was telling you to stop, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Did he tell you to stop before you hit him the second time?
No,
Did he tell you to stop before you hit him the third time?
I don't think so.
I didn't catch that.
I said I don't think so.
Okay. So your brother was telling you to stop though, correct?
I think he was just talking to everyone in general.
Okay, but at that point, when you heard him say stop, you had hit Mr. Miu 2 or 3 times, correct?
Correct.
And you'd said your brother Tony came up and started to push you away, correct?
Yes.
So at the time that he's pushing you away, he's also yelling stop.
Yes.
Fair to say he's telling you to stop and he's pushing you away because you're giving a beat down to an old man?
I couldn't say what he was doing
Okay.
or what he was thinking.
All you know is you heard stop and you heard him try to push you away, correct?
Yes.
Had your brother not told you to stop and pushed you away, would you have kept beating on him?
No.
You were just, all your anger had gone out?
Yes.
Took 3 hits to get all your anger out?
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Ah. I think they were attacking him. Actually, I don't think that. No, that I think to me it looks like they were attacking him, and it just escalated to violence. There's no excuse for violence. But like you said, CCW, you're to fight. This was a fight.
Show you what's been marked as exhibit number 103.
Yep.
This is a drawing somewhat similar to that. Does it at least over here make sense to you? You see the G1 and the
Yep.
G2 and the different groups?
Yeah.
Do you see the red dots?
Yes.
Do you see the initials inside the red dots?
Yes.
Do you see the one blue dot?
Yes.
And then over on the left, you see a frame number and a time, correct?
Yes.
Would you agree at about 1:39 in the video and frame 2:38.7 that that's a rough approximation of where the 13 people and Mr. Miu are on the river?
I guess it would be a good estimation.
You agree?
Yeah.
Showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 104, do you see the
Apple
same
River.
kind of configuration? People are a little bit different, but the same general idea?
Yes.
And you see in the upper left-hand corner, it's frame 2592 at time 149.
Yes.
And same 13 red dots and 1 blue dot, agreed?
Yes.
And agree, again, that this accurately represents the approximate position of the 13 people and Mr. Miu on the river.
Approximately, yeah.
Move for the admission of exhibit 103 and 104.
Any objection? Yeah, I assume this is for illustrative purposes.
No objection, Judge.
All right, they're both received in.
Permission to publish.
Yes.
Judge, I just, for accuracy, one of the red dots depicting the group of the 6 teenagers has the initials LM. I was correctly told that the initial should be W. I apologize. I just want to make sure that the record reflects that.
Let's turn on the document examiner.
This is exhibit 103, frame 2387 at 139. And then showing exhibit 104, which is frame 2592 at 149. Can I also just publish in the old-fashioned way? So we
Yes.
move on?
Yeah.
Can I
Just, yeah, hand it to one of the jurors and we can pass it along.
Those are the only questions I have. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. I'm going to start out kind of on this subject here. So I'm looking at 104, and I'm just going to try to create part. More or less kind of what's on 104. All right. Can we get the monitor? I'm on frame 2592. Yes. No, you got it right.
Okay.
So here, I don't know if you can see this board. Can you all see that? So at 2592, Rhyley and Mattison are standing in front of Nicolae, right? Kind of like the drawing.
Yes.
I'm gonna go forward. Nope, I'm on the wrong one. You gotta go back a little further. Can we have the screen? On 2546, I think on cross, you talked about Rhyley having her hands up like that.
Yes.
Do you know if this is what you're talking about, if it was something else? If
I think it was when I had punched him.
Okay. I'm gonna scroll forward. So that's you, kind of like the drawing. And Rhyley and Mattison are shoulder to shoulder, like the drawing defense showed. Okay, I'm going to keep going forward.
It's clear to me that they were all attacking him. And yeah, and he pulled out his knife and just
Now, in this frame,
Started.
2659,
to protect himself. He just didn't. There's no ethic to right. There's just absolutely no ethic. Oh, just wait a minute. Stop. Hey, what are you doing? No, nobody does that. And a big brawl like that.
that's agreed where you're shoulder
We
to
all been
shoulder with
drinking.
Rhyley facing Nicolae and Madison's behind.
Which makes it even worse, in my
I
opinion.
think those are opposite, the stance on that.
What's that?
So I think it's just like Rhyley and me were like crisscross.
You're on the right of Rhyley in that snow frame.
Yeah.
Okay. And in my drawing, DC is on the right, Rhyley, RM is on the left. Right?
Well, if you're sitting this way, it's up.
Oh, you're kind of looking at it backwards
Oh,
over your shoulder.
yeah.
You want me to turn it a little bit?
Oh, I see what you meant now.
Kind of matches the,
Yeah.
okay.
I thought that was MU at the bottom.
Oh, gotcha. So, and you were asked on cross if when Miu punched Madison, you told law enforcement, you said it was Rhyley then, that she fell down. You remember that? If she got hit, she testified she got knocked back like that. And if you're,
Objection.
Sustained.
if you just saw the beginning of her going back, and then you respond, would you have seen what happened behind your back?
No.
Defense asked you on cross, essentially a line of questioning about help's not audible in the video. Do you recall that? You can't hear somebody saying help in the video.
Yes.
Defense gave you, there must be two options, and the defense asked you about one option being, they said help before the videos started. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And then they asked you, and then you said another possibility is it was in the seconds between the two videos. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Is another option that you just can't hear it in the video over other yelling?
Maybe.
Do you know which one it is?
I do not.
You just know you heard them yelling for help?
Yes.
And did you tell the officer multiple times that you didn't see, that you were looking away and didn't see exactly what happened until you turned back and that's when you saw the strike?
Yes.
And then defense asked you about alcohol. So you would have been on your fifth drink, as far as you remember, how many drinks you had on the river?
Yes.
Do you know if a drink is 0.02 per drink, 0.03? Do you have any idea?
No.
Okay.
We all know how much they were drinking. When they
When
say
you-
two, they mean five.
So
When they
you
mean
testified
five, they
on
mean
cross,
10.
you were responding to when you hit Nicolae, you're responding to him hitting Mattison. Remember that?
Yes.
And up until you saw him hit Madison, did you see any punching or pushing?
Not really pushing, but like,
Touching?
yeah.
And in response to the punch, you punched. Is that right?
Yes.
And then 2 open hand slaps, strikes.
Yes.
Did you pull out a weapon?
No.
Knife, gun?
No.
Put him in a chokehold?
No.
He was down on the ground, did you kick him?
No.
Did people pile on top of him?
No.
So defense asked you about 13 on 1. As far as you remember, and from everything you've seen in the video, was it 13 on 1 or you hitting him and AJ doing a push? So 2.
I would say that's fair. I didn't really see anyone hit him or try to go after him.
Nothing else.
Mr. Nelson?
You agree that there were 13 people standing there in the position that we showed on exhibits 103 and 104, correct?
Yes.
You were one of those people, correct?
Yes.
You were ready, willing, and able to use violence, correct?
Yes.
And you did, correct?
Yes.
AJ did too, correct?
I wouldn't categorize a push as violence, but
If you're pushing somebody down while their friend smacks them across the front of the face, would you think that's violent?
yes.
Fair to say that Madison Cohn was standing there in a position that may have been ready, willing, and able to be violent?
I don't think so.
She'd already pushed him and pulled him and screamed in his face, correct?
Yes.
She wasn't really gracious with him, was she? You wouldn't characterize that, would you?
No.
She's screaming in his face, correct?
She's
Madam,
yes.
StreamYard
same with
is
Rhyley
very
Mattison.
easy to use.
Same thing, correct? Ready, willing, and able?
Very.
Objection on speculation.
Sustained. Sustained.
Did she appear to you
It
to
is
be in a
extremely easy.
position
That's why I'm using
that
it.
she was ready, willing, based upon her gestures, and capable?
I highly recommend it for
To
people like
cause
you.
violence?
No, sorry, there's an objection.
Sorry.
Sustained.
Because if you use something on YouTube, you have to, it's complicated. I tried.
I believe you said, and I want to give you a chance because I couldn't understand it on redirect.
Definitely want to use YouTube. If we're going to do this
Did
kind of work,
I understand it correctly? You said you were not in a position to say whether she fell or didn't fall. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Originally, you told the police she fell, correct?
Yes.
Why did you tell the police something that you knew was wrong?
Because at the time I had remembered it differently.
Okay, so at that time when you said that, you had a memory in your mind that she'd fallen, correct?
Yes.
And since that time, your memory has changed, correct?
Yes.
And that's changed based upon conversations that you've had with friends?
No.
Based upon your watching the video?
Dennis,
No.
thank you for everything you
Just
do
on
for
your
us.
own, your mind said it wasn't the way I originally saw it, correct?
Yes.
And it's just coincidental that your change is helpful to the state's case.
No.
You had said that you, when you were asking about this help, right? Do you remember they were asking about, you heard help, but it wasn't on the recording?
Yes.
Just want to touch this briefly, right? On the exhibit, can I?
Yeah, it is. It's so much easier. It is. Very easy. Easier.
Yes.
John is the one who recommended me to use this. And I'm so happy that he did.
Here, because I want to ask you about a different time, but I just want to use the G2 and the G1. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So there was a time when you were over in that position where the circle is G2, correct?
Yes.
And then that's when you said you heard the teenagers yelling for help, correct?
Yes.
It was when you were over there by that position, correct?
Yes.
At that point, the phone would have been with Jawan Cockfield over here by G2, correct?
Yes.
So you would agree, let me ask this, all of the people in Jawan Cockfield's group were closer to the phone than you were, correct?
Yes.
So if any of those people, including Jawan Cockfield.
I saw a little bit of his
yelled
video last night.
help,
Yeah.
that voice would have been closer to the phone to pick it up than it would have been to
We'll
your
be able to
human
come on
ear,
for a
which
few
was
minutes
farther
today.
away, correct?
I emailed him and
Could be that you're just wrong.
No.
You for sure heard it,
Yes.
even though it's not on the recording, which was right by the boys.
Yes.
And you're as confident as that as you are in all of your other testimony.
Yes.
Even if we didn't see it on video, you're still confident that it was a punch.
Yes.
Nothing else.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carlson. You may step down.
okay, so we're done with
Is
this
he
witness.
released? All right, please see the witness coordinator in the back. She'll give you instructions.
What I have learned through this witness is that there was a lot of attacking the defendant. It really was. That's how I see it. And when everybody is under influence of alcohol and maybe a little bit of pot,
Who's the next witness?
you're,
We'll call Landon Wire.
it's not a good mix, especially with teenagers, especially with anybody, really.
Landon?
Yeah, so well, especially with those kids that young, yeah. And nothing good comes out of alcohol. We think we're having a good time, we're laughing, carrying on, living in. When something like this happens, we're all guilty.
Okay, Mr. Wire, please come forward. Keep going.
It looks like they're
There
gonna
you go.
they're gonna
Please face the
interview all
clerk,
the
raise
kids
your
that are
right hand.
involved.
She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the
I mean,
testimony you're about to give
not
in this
interview,
matter
I mean,
shall be the
all the
truth,
kids
the
are
whole truth,
involved in
and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Mr. Smithstad.
How will you state your name for the record, please?
Landon Wire,
How do you spell your last name?
Weyer,
How old are you?
19.
What do you do for a living?
I play football at UMD and go
That's
to
for a
school there,
living?
but I'm in the process of transferring right now.
And by UMD, do you mean University of Minnesota Duluth?
Yeah.
Where do you live when you're not a student up in Duluth?
Stillwater, Minnesota.
Do you live at home with your parents?
Yep.
Were you familiar with a person named Isaac Schuman?
Yep.
How did you know Isaac?
We've been friends. We were friends since I was like 7th grade.
You described your relationship as close.
Yes.
Do you recall the day of July 30th, 2022? Were you with Isaac that day?
Yes.
Were you with him on the river when he was killed?
Yes.
Were you part of the group that had met at Stillwater High School and rode over with Alex Bang's vehicle to River's Edge to rent tubes?
Yes.
Were you with the group the whole day?
Yes.
Do you remember what time you got on the river? About what time?
I do not.
Were your tubes tied together?
Yes.
Did that create one big raft?
Yes.
Were you all sitting on the tubes
Yes.
as you were going down the river?
Yes.
Did you have any alcohol to drink?
Yes.
What did you personally have to drink?
A couple beers and maybe a couple shots.
Okay, what kind of shots did you drink?
Tito's.
Is that a vodka?
Yes.
Did you have use any other substances?
We also smoked.
And when you say you smoked, is that referring to marijuana.
Yes.
Did you see Isaac Schuman using any marijuana that day?
I don't remember.
At some point, let me ask you this. Despite the alcohol you drank and the marijuana you used, do you have a recollection or a memory of what happened that day?
Yes.
At some point, as you were going down the river, did you have contact with the defendant, Mr. Miu?
Yes.
Do you know whereabouts that was on the river?
Towards the end.
Do you remember any landmarks being in the area?
Not really.
Or had you ever been on the river before that day?
Yes.
When you first saw Mr. Miu, what did he appear to be doing?
He was standing in short water with the goggles and a snorkel.
All right. Did you ask him or anybody in your group ask him what he was doing?
Said something along the lines of, "Yeah, what are you doing?"
Okay. Now, did he answer? Did you hear him answer, I guess?
Not right away because we were too far away.
All right. As you got closer to him, did he say what he was doing?
He mentioned something about little girls.
Okay. Do you know how close you were to him when he said that?
Not necessarily, no.
All right. At some point, did Juwan Cockfield call him some names?
Yes.
Are you aware that Juwan Cockfield had been recording what happened?
At the time, not necessarily, no.
All right. Have you seen that video since this happened back in 2022?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to play the first portion of the video and I have some questions about it.
What is he on? Whoa! 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 Whoa!
Go back a couple of days. Landon, do you recall this moment on the river back in 2022?
Yes.
What is Mr. Miu doing in that portion of the video we just watched?
Looks like he's about to reach over me and grab our tubes.
Are those your legs in the video where we're stopped? And I guess the timestamp is 4 seconds. At the 4 second mark?
Yeah.
Are you sitting next to Juwan?
Yes.
Does Mr. Miu come running up to where you are sitting on the tubes?
Yes.
Does he grab at the area where your legs are?
Yes.
Did he physically touch your legs?
Objection leading.
Assisting.
Did Mr. Miu make any kind of contact with anybody on the tubes?
I believe when he was reaching over, he touched me a little bit.
All right. Keep playing. We're going to continue the video from 04.
Whoa! 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 Hey, whoa! Get away! Whoa! Oh, God!
We stopped at 12 second mark. That portion of the video, what do you do when he comes up and grabs onto the area where your legs are?
I was just scared, just got up.
Did you bail out of your tube?
Yeah.
Did you have some concerns about what he was doing when he came up and reached towards you?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Yes, I was scared.
Did he say anything as he came running up to you?
I don't remember.
All right. Did he give you any kind of explanation for why he was grabbing at your legs?
No.
Did you have any adults with you in your group?
No.
Everybody in your group 17 at the time?
Yes.
he grabbed onto your tubes, did you see what he did next? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
All right. At some point, did he take several steps away from your group?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you say anything to him as he was interacting with you originally?
I don't necessarily remember.
Can you keep your voice up, please?
I don't remember.
All right.
God, why do people have to
do you know
mumble when they
any
answer
names?
questions?
I mean,
Um,
I might have said
Can you
that he
speak up,
was
please?
pedophile or something like that.
Did you swear at him at all?
He's just kidding. He was saying that off the
Did you
wall.
threaten him?
No.
At some point, did another group on the river come over to see what the heck was going on?
Yes.
Did you know any of those people?
No.
Were they older than you, if you know?
I didn't know, but they appeared to be adults.
And what did you see happen when the adults came over?
They had been saying the same thing we were saying, telling him to leave us alone and go away.
Right, and did you ever see him leave?
No.
At some point, do you recall laughing at him?
Yes.
And why were you laughing at him?
Once more people came, I felt a little bit more comfortable and with the adults being around. So I felt more comfortable.
Did you ever hear Isaac Schuman say anything to Mr. Miu that you recall?
No, not that I recall.
All right. Did you ever see, I'll strike that. When the other group came over to check, see what was going on, do you remember the gender of the folks that came over initially?
Both boys and girls.
All right. At some point, did you see the girls having an argument with Mr. Miu?
Yes.
Do you have a memory of that?
Yes, I remember she was telling him to leave us alone and go away.
All right. Do you recall where you were standing at the time they were having that conversation with him?
I was standing in front of him next to Jawan in the video.
You have an idea of how far away you were?
Probably feet away.
All right. At some point, did you see Mr. Miu react physically to these women that are yelling at him?
Yes.
What did you see him do?
I saw him strike her.
Okay, which one did he strike, if you remember?
She had blonde hair. She was standing right in front of him.
Okay, did you know him at all? Or know her at all?
I did not know.
Did you see which hand he hit her with?
Not necessarily, no. I think it was his right hand.
All right, did you see whether it was a closed fist or a open palm?
I did not.
Did you see whether he had a knife in his hand at the time that happened?
No.
All right. After he punched the blonde woman, what happened next? What did you see happen next?
I saw him get punched after, and then I saw people stabbed.
All right. When Mr. Miu got punched, did he go down in the water?
Yes.
Did you or any of your guys jump on him, hit him, kick him while he was in the water?
No.
How many people did you see actually hit Mr. Miu when he was in the water?
I only saw him get hit when the first initial strike.
All right. At some point, did he get up out of the water?
Yes.
Did you notice at that point if he had a knife in his hand or not?
No.
Eventually, did you realize that there were some people? Did you see some injured people eventually?
Yes.
Do you know how they got injured?
First thing I saw was someone holding their stomach. It's the first thing I saw.
Did that cause you concern?
Yeah, that was very traumatizing.
Did you flee the area?
I was standing there for a while, and then I ended up going further away next to the tubes.
All right. we're going to show you a still frame from the video, Juan's video, and I'm going to ask you some questions about it. All right. This video, do you see two people?
Yes.
One in the foreground, one in the background?
Yeah.
Which one? Is one of them you?
Yes, I'm in the background.
All right. Do you estimate how many feet you are away from the person in the foreground?
Sorry, what?
How far away are you from the person that's in the blue shorts there?
I'd say maybe 10 feet.
All right. We're going to scroll through from, that was 2596. I'd like, or pardon me. Can you scroll? We're going to try to scroll through from 2891, and I'll ask you some questions about those pictures too. We're starting at 2891. You can stop it there. We're at 2926. Landon, do you see Mr. Miu in this frame? Or at least his arm?
Yes.
Do you see if he's holding anything in his hand?
Hi. Welcome to the. Is that bacon?
Remember.
All right. Do you remember rushing up towards him or doing anything like that?
No.
Did you ever lay a hand on him?
No.
Did he ever lay a hand on you other than when he grabbed onto your tubes?
I don't believe so, no.
Did you ever get close enough to him where he could have done that?
Yes.
At least in this video, this part of the video, you were, I think by your estimate, about 10 feet away. Is that right?
Yeah.
At some point, did you realize that Isaac had been stabbed?
Yes.
How did you know that?
I believe Jawan screamed out his name, and then I looked and saw.
Were you with Jawan by the tubes later on in the video? You heard Jawan call out?
Yes.
Did you go to where Isaac was?
Eventually, yes.
Did you see that he was wounded?
Yes.
What did you see?
I saw a cut in his chest.
Did you or other folks in your group try to assist him?
Yes. Jawan and Owen. Owen had his hands on the wound, and Alex was holding him up.
All right, did you eventually move him over to the shore?
Yes, that was on the shore when they were doing that.
At some point, did some other folks stop to help you guys?
Yes.
Did they provide care to him, medical care?
Yes.
I'm going to back up here a little bit. Prior to Mr. Miu punching the blonde lady, did you see anybody strike him in any fashion?
No.
Did you see, let me ask you this, did you have a knife that day?
No.
Did you ever see anybody in your group with a knife that day?
No.
Did you see a knife on anybody that was involved in this incident?
No, not until I saw that people were stabbed. I never saw anybody have a knife.
Gosh, it was a bloodbath.
Did you see where Mr. Miu went after he was done stabbing folks?
No.
At some point, was Isaac taken off the river by medical personnel?
Yes.
Did you go with him, follow him?
Yes, I was. Yes.
Was Isaac first taken up to the road near the bridge?
Yes.
Did you speak to any police officers while you were still near the river? Do you remember?
Yeah, I don't remember, no.
Was Isaac taken to the hospital?
Yes.
Did you go to the hospital with him?
Yes.
Do you remember speaking to a police officer at the hospital?
Yes.
Did you tell them what happened?
Yes.
What you saw?
Yes.
Do you still remember the face of the person who did this?
Yes.
You see him here in the courtroom? See what he's wearing?
Yes.
Can you say what he's wearing?
He's wearing a suit, blue suit with gray pants. And
Nothing further.
Mr. Chirofisi?
So, Mr. Ryder, you are, I want to make sure I got this right. 2 of the 6 of you that were there that day are now college football players. Is that right?
yes.
Okay. Mr. Cockfield plays college football, and so do you?
Yes.
Okay. And what position do you play, sir?
Safety.
Okay. And how big are you?
5'11", 180, 7 pounds.
And you indicated on direct examination that you had been consuming alcohol that day, is that right?
Yes.
And you had been using marijuana?
Yes.
Okay. You were asked by officers questions about your drinking and how much you believe you had to drink. Is that right? Do you remember that?
Yes.
All right. And you were asked that by officers in comparison to what Isaac had been drinking that day. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And you had said that, in your opinion, Isaac was the least drunk person out there, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you believe in your own mind that you were more intoxicated than Isaac, right?
I believe that Isaac seemed to be composed. That's why I said that he seemed to.
So to answer my question, do you believe that you were more intoxicated than Isaac?
I don't know.
Do you think you had drank about the same as he drank?
I don't know. I wasn't keeping track.
Okay. Now, you just testified on direct examination that I'm going to talk to you about the first contact you have with Mr. Miu. Okay. That first contact, you testified that he's standing in shallow water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are asking him questions?
We were saying something along the lines of, why is he standing in shallow water with snorkels on? What is he doing? Yes.
And your answer was, today, he told us that he was something about little girls, right?
Yes.
You also never mentioned that to the police, do you?
I don't remember.
You don't remember whether or not you told the police that this gentleman was looking for little girls? You don't have any recollection of whether you told them that?
I believe I said that, but I don't remember.
So you believe under oath today that you did tell someone that?
I object, Your Honor. He says he doesn't remember.
Overruled. Let's clean it up.
I don't remember. I thought I said it to the cop at the hospital.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part, sir.
I thought I said it to the cop at the hospital, but I do not remember.
If I told you what you said to the cop at the hospital wasn't that he was looking for little girls, but rather, I can't even tell you what he was saying.
He said something about little girls, but I couldn't recite exactly what he said.
You'd agree that's not what you tell the police. What you tell the police is he was saying stuff, I can't tell you what he was saying. Right? That's what you tell the police, though. Right?
That's what it says.
And you hear Let me ask you this. Mr. Cockfield acknowledged that your group was antagonizing Mr. Miu. Would you agree with that?
Object, Your Honor, to do so on other witnesses' testimony.
Sustained.
Do you believe your group was antagonizing Mr. Miu?
I believe that we said things to him.
Well, we all know you said things to him. Did you say things to him to antagonize him?
I don't know.
Calling him a raper and a pedophile and a predator. You would say those are things to antagonize someone, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, he's by himself, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this, and you see that he's a little bit older and a little bit out of shape, right?
Yes.
Okay. And your group, you've already said, has at least future college football players in it. And you were scared at that point?
I was a 17-year-old kid. I was scared.
So the answer is you were scared.
Yes.
Okay. And you were scared of what physically could happen?
Yes, at the time he was much bigger than me.
Okay. And we've heard on the tape that someone says, you've got 10 seconds. Do you recall saying that?
I do not.
Do you recall someone in your group saying,
I do
you've
not.
got 10 seconds?
I do not.
Okay. So I think you told the police that once Mr. Miu comes over, you'd agree he comes over to your tubes, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember that he had a snorkel in his mouth at one point? When he comes over?
I don't know. I just remember he had one.
Okay. And he then walks around your tubes. Is that true?
I don't remember.
You don't remember. Do you remember him leaving your tube where your tubes were and walking what would be downstream a little bit? You remember that?
I do not remember that.
Do you remember him turning his back to your group? You remember that?
I remember that.
Do you remember your people in your group approaching Mr. Miu?
I do not.
Can I ask you, what do you remember about that?
About
that particular part of the incident? Do you remember anything about it?
I do.
Okay. So after he walks around your tubes, what do you remember?
I remember that we walked away and then people came to us and then we were standing in front of him and I'm standing by my tubes. We're all standing by our tubes in front of
Thank you, CCW, for joining me.
and people were talking to him.
So I want to make sure I understand it. You said you walked away? Or you said he walked away initially?
I was by my tubes.
Okay. So you don't remember him walking away from your tubes?
I do not.
You don't remember him turning his back to you?
I do not.
What do you remember?
You remember the blonde person, the blonde woman come over though, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember Mr. Miu walking over to her? Remember that?
I do not.
Your Honor, I would object to the comments that are coming from the defense table. You're obviously getting.
Hold on. Please, gentlemen, it's late in the day. We're tired. I just want to have a clean Q&A. Please keep the side conversations, the table talk to yourself. That's where I'm going to end it.
So, Mr. Wire, I'm going to show you, we're going to start this at 51 seconds, okay? And I'm going to stop it and just see if that maybe that does anything in terms of helping you remember anything.
drunk. We get that drunk?
Who is it? Yes! Yes! For the culture! For the culture! Who is that?
So you see Mr. Miu walking away from your group, moving over toward the blonde person, the woman, right?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, are you still scared?
When more people, adults start to come, I felt a little bit more secure.
Okay. You agree that when he walks over toward the blonde, you guys can pass on by, right?
Yes.
Don't you want to get away from it?
Yes.
So passing on by would be a way to get away from them, yes?
Yes.
But you don't. Your group stays, right?
We stayed there, yes.
Yeah, and you stay, right? Because you see this woman coming over and she's giving it to him, isn't she? She's yelling at him.
She's telling him to leave.
Right, she's telling him to leave, but you agree you just could have left, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you said this. You're becoming, as the numbers increase, your fear level is decreasing, right?
Because they were adults and I was a kid, yes.
So the answer is the more people that show up, the less fearful you're becoming.
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree that your confidence is rising as well?
Your Honor, the relevance. I don't understand the question.
Sustained.
Your confidence in the situation, in terms of what's going on, you're becoming more confident in your position there, right?
Same objection.
Sustained. Come on up if you have questions.
Oh, okay, Judge. That's all right. Thank you. Do you feel safer with more people around?
I felt safer with the adults around, yes.
Okay. And with the adults around, does your behavior to Mr. Miu change?
Yes.
It becomes more taunting, right?
Becomes less fearful.
Okay, well, do you show signs that you're becoming less fearful?
Yes.
Okay, and you do that by taunting him, right?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember this? There's a point where your group is kind of around him. You're all pointing at him in his face, calling him a predator, right? You remember that?
I remember that people had called him that, yes.
And that happens after these other people come over, right?
Yes.
Okay, so once you see, and then tell me if I'm right, there's about 4 or 5 people initially that come over, right?
I do not remember how many people came over.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you, I need to mark this. Okay.
Yes.
So I just want to show you what has been marked as exhibit number 105, and we can show, can you tell me, is there a picture next to kind of a diagram there?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And in that picture, can you tell the jury if you recognize, what do you see there?
I see Nicolae. I see Isaac. And I think that's Ryan.
Ryan Nelson?
In those swim shorts, I think that is. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Is it fair to say those are some of the guys that you're, minus Mr. Miu, there's some of the guys that you're with, right?
Yeah, it's tubes as well.
Okay, and your tube, there's pictures of your tubes there, some of them?
Yes.
Okay. To the right of that, you would see where it says G1 and then there's a G2. See that?
Yeah.
Okay. And if I tell you that the blue M stands for Mr. Miu, and these initials are the people in your group, okay?
Okay.
Do you think that that is, in this particular picture, a fair estimate of where people are? For example, Mr. Schuman's in front of Mr. Miu. Mr. Nelson is over to the side, like you mentioned. Is that a fair and accurate representation?
It seems roughly correct, yes.
Okay. And so I guess I would move 105.
The objection?
Well, I don't objection, Your Honor. I'm looking at it. And,
What's the objection?
our Nelson's listed twice. It's not accurate.
So the objection is foundation.
Foundation, it's not the evidence.
Mr. Officer, do you want to clean it up with him?
I will object. So, Mr. Wire, in terms of making sure I have it right, Mr. Nelson was labeled twice. What wasn't labeled on there, if you can take a look at it, we've changed it. You were with a gentleman by the name of Owen Pelican, right?
Yes.
Okay. And he's now written in there, he wasn't written in there before, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now, with the change of changing Ryan Nelson twice to now adding Mr. Pelican, does that appear to be a fair and accurate representation?
If LM is me, yes. My last name starts with a W though.
Understood. Then getting your name wrong, so. But otherwise, it's a fair and accurate representation.
Objection? Received. What was the number again?
I'm sorry, what, the exhibit is 105.
105?
So, Mr. Ryer, at one point where, and you, I guess I'll ask it to you this way. You hear the blonde, her name is Madison Cohen. She comes over and she's, you describe her as being in Mr. Miu's face, right?
She was standing by him in front of her. She was standing in front of his face, yes.
Right. You use the description in his face, yes?
If that's what I said. Yes.
Okay. And to you, does in his face mean she's kind of in his personal space?
Just means in his face, face to face.
And during the time that that Ms. Cohen's doing this, Mr. Miu's not reacting in any type of violent or aggressive way, right?
He's
Yelling at him?
He's standing in front of her, not doing what she's asking him to do.
In a non-violent, aggressive way?
Yes.
And when you guys surround him and start calling him predator and pedophile, what's the purpose of that?
He said something about little girls, so with him being a grown man, he said something about little girls, so that had us feeling like he was a predator.
So you felt like he kind of deserved it, right?
I felt like we were saying that because of what he said.
Was that captured on video by chance?
I don't believe so.
So, other than your statement today, there's no other recording or written documentation of that happening, right?
No.
And can you bring it up? As you see Madison Cohen and the other woman, Rhyley Martin, as you see them in his face or in front of him as you described, I'm going to bring up 2611. Tell me if that's you.
Tell us when you're ready.
Ready? Yeah, that's right. That's you, right?
Yes.
Okay. And this is, if you remember, seconds before moments before Madison Cohen, you say you see her punched, right?
This is before I saw her get punched, yeah.
Okay. And I'm gonna run you from 2611. And move it forward. But before I do that, I want to ask you this. You look like, that's Juwan Cockfield holding the camera, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You look like you're looking at him. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you recall, are you guys like looking at each other laughing about just what's happening?
I don't necessarily know what we were laughing about or looking at each other, just looking at each other.
Okay. You're not sure why you're laughing though, right? That's what you just said?
For the specific reason, no.
Okay. All right. You're not, is it fair to say at this point, you're not looking at Mr. Miu or Miss Cohen? True?
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
Okay. Can you just play? If I told you right there, the group moves forward, and there's been information that that's the point where Mr. Miu strikes Miss Cohen. Would that be fair? Would you recognize that as that's the timing?
I don't know. I can't see.
Okay, well, we'll play it a little more. Right, and now you see Mr. Miu going down, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you believe the woman who's in the front here, holding the alcoholic beverage, she's the one that gets hit? Yes? The other person?
I can't remember. I was behind her, so I just knew she had blonde hair.
You were behind her and you were looking at Juwan Cockfield, right?
I was looking at Juwan before he struck her.
Okay. What I want to know is, can you say whether or not that blonde woman in this picture is the person that you saw get struck?
I would think that's her if that's the only girl with blonde hair that was in it talking to him right before.
Well, there's another woman in the picture as well. See her right there?
Yes.
Tattoo on it?
She had blonde hair as well.
You can't ask me questions, but what I can do is just say whether or not you can pick out which one of those two people was struck.
I can't. I don't know which one it was.
Okay. Do you know how she was struck?
Just remember him striking her. I don't exactly know how.
Which hand?
I don't remember. I believe it was the right.
Okay. And do you where on her body she was struck?
Her face.
Okay. There's been various demonstrations as to how that happened, meaning what type of punch it was. How would you describe it?
I don't remember. I just remember him striking her.
And I think you said she went down, right?
Well, I thought I remembered seeing, yeah.
That you saw her fall to the ground?
I thought she fell to the ground, yeah.
Okay. And do you think that because that's what you saw?
Yeah.
Okay. You'd agree that blonde girl right there, she's got a drink in her hand, right? You see that?
She has a drink in her hand, yes.
Yeah, you see the cell phone in her swim top? See that?
Yes.
Okay. And she looks like she's yelling, right? Speaking, doing something?
Her mouth is open, yeah.
You're saying that you saw her fall down?
I don't remember exactly which girl it was. It was the girl with blonde hair. I was behind her. So I don't know if that's exactly the.
But what you're certain of is one of them fell.
One of them for sure got striked, and I thought they fell to the ground, yes.
Okay. And then you describe to officers as a bunch of guys came and got on him, right? That's how you use the descriptive, right?
That's what I said, yes.
Okay. So you see him get
I saw him get punched, yeah.
okay. And then you say a bunch of guys came and got on him, right? What would you mean by that?
I just saw people flock towards him after the woman got striked.
Did you see anything else after that? After he went down?
After he went down, then I started seeing people who were stabbed.
You saw people stabbed after he went down?
After he went down, got up, then I just saw people stabbed.
Did you see him struck while he was on the ground again?
I did not.
Did you see him get struck when he was being pushed in the back?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did it appear to you that he was getting the worst of this? He was getting beat up?
I remember that after he punched somebody, somebody came and punched him.
All right, I get that. The question is, when you say a bunch of guys came and got on him, are you saying that you believed he was getting beat up?
I believe that people went towards him after he had already struck somebody.
And were beating him up?
I saw him get punched. I didn't see anything. After that, it was a commotion.
Okay. Now, you said that you were close enough. You got close enough to Mr. Miu that he could have hurt you, right?
Yes, I was standing feet away from him.
Okay, and he didn't hurt you, right?
No.
And you didn't touch him at all, did you?
During when he was standing over there, no.
What, at any point, do you put your hands on Mr. Miu?
No, I never touched him.
Okay. And so he never touches you, does he?
He touched me earlier on.
I mean, he never touches you in a way that causes you any injuries.
I never got injured, no.
Okay. Okay. Sure, I don't have any questions for you. Thank you for your time, sir.
Mr. Smithstead?
Just a couple, Judge. Wayne, did you ever call Mr. Miu a raper at any time you had this interaction with him?
I don't remember specifically saying anything, but I do remember hearing things on the video. People.
I want to ask you exactly what you remember yourself saying. Do you remember yourself ever calling him a predator?
No.
Do you remember other folks in your group?
I remember hearing people say it, yes.
All right, did you ever call him yourself a pedophile?
Sorry, what?
Did you ever yourself call him a pedophile while this was going on?
Not that I remember.
Or other people in your group call him a pedophile?
I just remember someone calling him something along the lines of that pedophile, yes.
They asked you about the blonde girl falling down. As you sit here today, is that something you remember happening, or is that something you think might have happened?
I remember her getting struck, and I thought she fell to the ground, from what I remember.
Is that your recollection of the event?
Yes.
Mr. Tropsy asked you about your statement to the cops that a bunch of guys got on him. Do you know how many guys got on Mr. Miu after he fell in the river?
No, I just remember as soon as she got punched, several guys, took.
Were any of those guys people from your group?
No.
Nothing else.
Is there a prophecy? No? All right. Thank you, Mr. Wire. You may step down. Please see the witness coordinator in the back. She'll give you further instructions about where to go. All right, we are just about at 4:30, so we are going to recess for the day. The bailiff will take you out in a moment. My instructions for you tonight are the same as yesterday. Do not begin your deliberations. Do not talk with others about this case. Do not interact with the attorneys, the witnesses, the parties, the members of the public. Do not conduct any independent research about the case. And do not watch or read any media reports, including social media posts about this matter. We will get started tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Please report to the same door that you did this morning. Warren should be there to greet you. Please take the jury out. All right, please be seated. We are outside the presence of the jury. The attorneys are present, Mr. President. We do have another illustration on the easel. I'd like to get an exhibit sticker on that. That was the drawing that Mr. Anderson created with, I believe it was Mr. Wire. Could be wrong. Was it Mr. Carlson? Okay. In any event, let's get a sticker on it so it's marked. All right, 75, we'll mark it. Mr. Anderson, do you have anything that you want to address before we adjourn?
No, on this topic, I think we're on track I think we're moving at a decent pace.
Okay. Mr. Tropisi, anything you want to address? All right, just ask the attorneys, confer tomorrow about tomorrow's witnesses, just so there's no surprises. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
All right, thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will be back on tomorrow on through Westline. But thank you so much for
Wahoo Meat Locker, award-winning meats and recipes. Our premium.
Until we meet again. Thanks a lot. Have a great evening, everyone. 1, 2, 3, out.